Chapter 2288. Good. Li Qingshu suddenly felt a sense of powerlessness in his heart. A bad premonition. Senior, based on Junior's rough inspection, the things in your storage bag are slightly lower in value. Si Xinyu looked at Xiaohua and said respectfully, if you don't have other spirit stones to take out, this beast cultivator's body is Senior Li's. Of course, if you feel that Junior's estimate is not accurate, Junior can ask a professional consecrator to come and let them make a detailed estimate. Oh. Li Qingshu raised the corner of his eye, feeling that this happiness came too suddenly. Who knew? Before a smile appeared on Li Qingshu's face, Xiaohua smiled and said, this old man recognizes little friend C's estimate. I wonder if fellow Li over there agrees? Of course, this old man recognizes Sky Patrol City very much. I also recognize Governor C. How can I not recognize it? Hearing Xiaohua's question, Li Qingshu said with a smile on his face. Okay. Xiaohua nodded. This old man admits, Xian Lusec's disciples are really rich. How much less is this old man compared to them? Not much, about 30,000 top-grade spirit stones. Si Xinyu smiled and said, if we ask the consecrators to check carefully, it should not be this number. Li Qingshu smiled. At this point, not to mention 30,000 top-grade spirit stones, he couldn't even take out 5,000. Not to mention Xiaohua's strength alone against all the Xian Lusec's disciples. Sure enough, Xiaohua stretched out his hand and said, return this old man's storage bag to this old man. Yes. Facing Xiaohua who could take out so many spirit stones, Si Xinyu did not dare to be slow and respectfully handed the storage bag to Xiaohua. Hee, Li Qingshu smiled and stretched out his hand. He could almost see Taoist Master Blue Feather's happy face when she saw this beast cultivator. It was really not easy to win the favor of a nascent soul cultivator. Unfortunately, before he could straighten his hand, Xiaohua brushed the storage bag at his waist, and his hand fell on another storage bag. Then, without hesitation, he handed it over and smiled. Little friend C, take a look, are these spirit stones enough? What? Li Qingshu's hand stiffened, and the smile on his face also froze. A voice roared in his heart. Motherfucker, who is this guy? How could he take out so many spirit stones at any time? These are all the spirit stones of my Xian Lusec's disciples. Si Xinyu wasn't surprised, but he didn't understand why Xiaohua didn't take out a separate storage pouch, but instead put the items into another storage pouch. Taking the storage bag, Si Xinyu solemnly immersed his divine sense into it. After looking at it for a while, he raised his head and said, Junior has carefully looked through it. Senior has definitely taken out more than 30,000 top-grade spirit stones. All right. Xiaohua waved his hand and didn't say anything. Senior Li, what do you think? Si Xinyu raised his head and asked. Do you need me to get a consecrator to examine it carefully? No. No need. Although Li Qingshu really wanted to see what exactly was inside Xiaohua's storage pouch, and what exactly was more than his, he was still a golden core cultivator, the one with the highest cultivation among everyone present. Earlier, when he had a lot of spirit stones, he didn't ask anyone to inspect it. Now that he had less spirit stones, he naturally didn't have a reason to ask anyone to inspect it. That's good. Since Senior Li doesn't have any objections, this beast cultivator's body is this senior's. Si Xinyu made the final decision and handed the storage pouch that he previously received the duck to Xiaohua. Boom! A clamorous sound rang out, and the entire auction was in an uproar. Everyone, including the Xian Lusec's disciples, they all clamored. Everyone was watching the excitement, but no one expected that the final result would actually be Xiaohua's highest bid. This was simply a miracle. And at this time everyone only had one thought. This senior dressed in camouflage. How many spirit stones did he take out in the end? As for which sect Xiaohua was a cultivator from, no one paid any attention to it. Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly, Xiaohua took the storage pouch and immersed his divine sense into it. After confirming that the duckling was inside the storage pouch, he tied the storage pouch to his waist and cupped his hands, saying, Many thanks, little friend C. You're welcome. Si Xinyu clapped his hands again, and took out a pure white token. He respectfully handed it to Xiaohua and said, This item is a token of my Sky Patrol City, specially prepared for cultivators like Senior who bid extremely high prices. With this item, Senior can enjoy a lot of convenience in bidding. The specific matters are explained in the token. Senior can take a look and you will know. And very good. Xiaohua unceremoniously took it and smiled. Little friend Si, please send this old man out. Yes. Si Xinyu glanced at Li Qingxiu and didn't rush to return the storage pouch to him. Instead, he formed a seal and hit the high platform. A burst of milky white brilliance gushed out from the ground of the high platform, like a fountain, covering Xiaohua's body. When the brilliance fell, Xiaohua had already disappeared. Thank you, Senior Li, for coming to my Sky Patrol City's auction. At this time, Si Xinyu respectfully handed the storage pouch to Li Qingxiu and smiled apologetically. I hope Senior can understand my Sky Patrol City's difficulties. I hope Senior can get what he wants next time. It's okay. Li Qingxiu felt bitter and reached out to take the storage pouch. Then he said unwillingly, actually, there are some rare items that you can ask the people in the meeting hall to see if my disciple needs them. Then you can bring them here to bid. I will not take out any spirit stones that the Sky Patrol City is not satisfied with. This way, there won't be an awkward situation today. Yes, Junior understands. I will definitely report to the City Lord later and ask for his decision. Si Xinyu respectfully agreed. Junior will send Senior down. Okay. Seeing the appearance of a rainbow bridge, Li Qingxiu tactfully stepped on the rainbow bridge, and his figure descended from the high platform. Fellow cultivators, this auction has come to a successful end. After more than a month, there will be a rejuvenation pill, or a beast cultivator's body in the auction. I will bring my Sky Patrol City to invite all of you to come to my auction again. With the wave of Si Xinyu's sleeves, several milky white halos emerged from the edge of the high platform and rushed to the light shield of the auction. In a moment, the light shield disappeared. Everyone's faces were still filled with excitement. Those who were familiar with each other talked with each other, and the auction poured out from all directions. Li Qingxiu's face was gloomy, like a rock standing in the water. He did not move at all. His eyes were looking at the place where Xiaohua stood just now. The faces of the dozens of Xianlu sect disciples around him were also extremely ugly. All the cultivators who walked past them had a face of ridicule, curiosity, or disdain, but their footsteps were all the same. Let's go. After a moment, Li Qingxiu waved his hand and seemed to have made some decision. He turned around and walked away with the crowd. In the air inside the light shield, the high platform floated in the air, but Si Xinyu on the high platform did not immediately leave. Instead, he looked at Li Qingxiu. Looking at Li Qingxiu's back drowned in the crowd, he sighed and looked at the two storage pouches in his hand. His face showed astonishment and he muttered, "Which senior is this? He actually has so many spiritual grasses. Doesn't he know that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth has changed? Spiritual grasses that are over 10,000 years old have already become treasures? Using one means one less. It's simply more precious than spirit stones. TSK, it's all thanks to Xianlu sect. If it weren't for them, how could this senior take out so many spiritual grasses? He never even dreamed of it. It's also strange. It's just a beast cultivator's body. The consecrators only felt that it was strange, so they took it out to bid and opened everyone's eyes. That soul can admittedly be extracted, but how could refining a spirit tool be so simple? I didn't think that Xianlu sect's Taoist master Lan Yu had this intention. Moreover, this senior seems to be in urgent need. He actually has so many spiritual grasses. This matter still needs to be reported to the city lord. If Xianlu sect and this senior have any disputes, maybe it's this C's fault. It's a pity that this beast cultivator's body only appeared for a fleeting moment. I don't know when I'll be able to see it again. This spirit stone is not easy to earn. However, the rejuvenation pill was easy to deal with. The mysterious cultivator had made it clear that after these 5 rejuvenation pills were auctioned off, another 5 pills would be sent over. As long as I bid well in the Sky Patrol City, there would be more every month. The effect of this rejuvenation pill is 100 times better than the ageless pill. Coupled with the shortage of the ageless pill in Tongmu City, It's a good opportunity for my Sky Patrol City to make a name for myself and suppress Tongmu City. In the future, when anyone mentions the rejuvenation pill, I'm afraid that they will think of my Sky Patrol City. Xingyu thought silently. When the cultivators in the auction had all retreated, he activated the array again. The light shield once again appeared and covered the surroundings. Then his figure disappeared from the high platform. After leaving the auction at midnight, he couldn't help but hear Fu Lu's nagging along the way. Young master, this old servant didn't remind you. That Xiaohua is a swindler. You actually gave him everything in your storage pouch. Even that thing. That so-called beast cultivator is obviously a spirit beast. No matter how precious its soul is, how can it be compared to that thing? The cultivators in Sky Patrol City are blind. How can they value that thing with spirit stones? Now we don't even have spirit stones. How can we use the teleportation array in Sky Patrol City? Don't we have to fly back? Fu Lu, you've said it 100 times. If you don't feel thirsty, I'll feel that my ears are ringing. Ziyi waved his hand indifferently and said, although that thing is precious, if it wasn't for the spirit stones, how could Xiaohua successfully take down that spirit beast? Since he likes that spirit beast, he naturally has his reasons for liking it. I only know that he has a strong character and is untainted by worldly affairs. Why would I be reluctant to part with it? Young master, I'm afraid it's like what my old friend said. You read too much. Fu Lu smiled bitterly. Chapter 2289. In the end, Fu Lu didn't dare to say the word stupid. He sighed and said, didn't you see that as soon as Xiaohua got the spirit beast, he immediately ran away? He didn't even leave a message talisman for young master. He clearly had the idea of taking advantage of young master. Fu Lu, you're wrong, Ziyi said confidently. If I'm not wrong, fellow Daoist Xiao must be waiting for me outside EG. He's definitely not the kind of person who leaves without saying goodbye. This old servant doesn't agree. Fu Lu shook his head. No matter how you look at him, he doesn't look like the kind of cultivator who can take out hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. Young master, he's only in the early stage of foundation establishment. It's impossible for him to have so many spirit stones. I'm still refining qi. Ziyi rolled his eyes. How can I have so many spirit stones? How can he compare with young master? Young master is... AI, forget it, let's not talk about it. Won't we know when we get outside EG? Ziyi sighed and waved his hand. What a pity about the rejuvenation pill. If I could get it. Young master wants the rejuvenation pill. It's better to listen to Xiaohua and directly bid for the ageless pill. Fu Lu seemed to know what Ziyi was thinking and laughed. It's really not worth it for us to exchange that thing for the rejuvenation pill. At this point, Fu Lu's face became sad again. In fact, it's also not worth it to exchange for the spirit beast. Young master, this old servant didn't remind you. That Xiaohua is a swindler. You actually gave everything in your storage pouch to him, even that thing. Midnight couldn't help but cry as well. In fact, Ziyi also understood that Fu Lu's words weren't without reason. That thing was really precious, and was used by Ziyi to save his life this time. But he himself also didn't understand. At that time, when he saw Xiaohua suddenly bid and was suppressed by Li Qingxiu, he also became anxious in his heart. His blood surged, and he thought of the words for a friend, even if it costs you a knife. He immediately stuffed his storage pouch into Xiaohua's hands. Xiaohua didn't even look at it, and stuffed it into his arms, then continued to bid. In the end, when Xiaohua won the bid for the spirit beast and floated away, he didn't even look at him. Not to mention Fu Lu's reminder, he himself was also somewhat regretful at this time. Although he defended Xiaohua, he was really afraid that Xiaohua would not even say goodbye and directly leave. However, things didn't go as Ziyi had imagined. His heart sank when he saw the items he had gathered and the dozen or so burly followers he had brought with him. It was extremely deep. Young master, look, it wasn't this old servant who reminded you. That Xiaohua is a swindler. You actually gave him everything in your storage pouch, even that thing. Shut up. Ziyi could not hold it in any longer. He waved his hand and said, let's go. We'll leave Sky Patrol City now. Yes. Fu Lu hurriedly shut his mouth and looked at those people. With a wave of his hand, the dozen or so people didn't dare to make a sound as they followed closely behind the gloomy midnight. After walking for a while, Ziyi finally couldn't help but turn around and ask, "When you were waiting outside EG, did anyone leave a message for me?" The dozen or so followers looked at each other in bewilderment. "Sai, forget it." Ziyi waved his hand and didn't speak anymore. At this time, one of the followers was clever and said carefully, "EG has always been very quiet. Few people came out. Just before everyone came out, a cultivator who was enchanted quickly came out and stood in front of us for a moment. However, he didn't say anything. He just waved his hand and walked in the direction we came from." "Yes, there was such a person," another follower said anxiously. "That person was very strange. When he waved his sleeve, he stomped his feet as if there was snow on his feet. Ha ha ha." These words were like the spring sunshine, illuminating Ziyi's gloomy mood. Ziyi laughed loudly and turned around. "How could I forget? Why didn't I believe in fellow Xiao? Let's go quickly, follow me. I'll let you see, Fu Lu. The friends I made are definitely not the kind of people who leave after taking advantage of others." Fu Lu seemed to understand at this time, and a rare smile appeared on his face. Needless to say, Xiao Hua was in the tea house at this time. Of course, Xiao Hua didn't look for any room upstairs. Instead, he casually found a place on the first floor that was close to the door. There was a pot of spirit tea placed on the table in front of him. He narrowed his eyes and drank mouthful by mouthful, but his mind entered the space behind his head. When Xiao Hua came out of EG, he released his Buddhist awareness. After confirming that no one was following him, he took out his spirit storage bag and sent the duck into his space without saying a word. Although he wasn't sure whether this duck was die or not, he absolutely couldn't take the risk. He absolutely couldn't let Er's duck die in front of his eyes. Even if he had to expose the secret of his space, he wouldn't hesitate. Little Yellow was still sleeping in the space. The past few years seemed to have passed in the blink of an eye. Of course, Xiao Hua also keenly sensed that Little Yellow had changed a little, even if these changes were really small. When Little Silver saw a spirit beast come in, the first thing it did was burrow into the spirit grass. It wasn't until it saw the duck, which was who knew how many times bigger than it, lying there quietly and motionlessly, that it stuck half an eye out of the spirit grass. It looked at it curiously, but still didn't dare to fly out of the spirit grass. The spirit beast seemed to be seriously injured. Blue blood flowed out of its neck, but its eyes were closed the whole time. It didn't open the slightest bit. Of course, Xiao Hua could also sense that when the spirit beast entered the space, its life force stopped flowing. Even if this isn't Dyer's body, it's still a spirit beast, an 8th grade spirit beast. It's rare to see one in the Dawn Rain continent. Those spirit grass weren't wasted. Xiao Hua couldn't see any clues, so he could only comfort himself like this. "It really won't do. I'll give it to Jianglu or give it to Li. Yes, give it to Li. With such a spirit beast in my myriad Thunder Valley, we can suppress the Taiqing sect." Thinking this, Xiao Hua was about to withdraw his mind. At that moment, the duck's closed eye moved, and its long eyelashes trembled slightly. Oh, Xiao Hua stopped again. He saw the duck open one of its eyes. In that large eye, there were slightly golden threads in its pupil. Good, as expected. Xiao Hua was delighted. This duck's eyes were too similar to Dyer's, especially when there was no resentment. The duck opened its eyes and its pale yellow neck turned slightly, as if it was sizing up this space. It saw the spirit grass, the ripples of the lake, and the crackling sound of thunder in the distance. Until it saw the silhouette of a sleeping Goldie in the distance. Quack! The duck was startled. It raised its head fiercely and opened its other eye with great difficulty. At that moment, Goldie stretched lazily, and its small body grew. It rolled a few times on the ground, and its small face rushed towards the duck. Then it curled up and used its large tail to cover its body. Its eyes didn't even open as it fell asleep again. Quack! 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 The duck cried out a few times, but it didn't wake Goldie up. The duck's two slender legs exerted strength, trying to move towards Goldie. However, after a few slight movements, Blood flowed out from its neck again, and the duck collapsed powerlessly on the ground. 2 sparkling and translucent teardrops flowed out from her eyes. A strange thing happened. The duck's body suddenly moved, and it landed beside Goldie. Its body was a few feet tall, and it was much bigger than Goldie. However, the duck was so pitiful. It lowered its head, which was about the same size as Goldie's, and stopped not far from Goldie. Only then did it close its eyes. It was as if this was the only place where it was safe. Only here would it not be killed by others. And it should be Dai without a doubt. Although Xiaohua couldn't be sure whether this duck was Dai or not, he had a premonition in his heart. After all, Goldie didn't come out often, and those who saw Goldie were the ghosts of his subordinates. Especially the spirit beasts, who had never seen Goldie before. If this duck wasn't Dai, who could it be? Dai was seriously injured and almost died. What about Her Majesty? Her cultivation is comparable to the spirit-severing stage. What happened to her? Could it be the Empress has fallen? Xiaohua thought of the Empress, and he couldn't help but feel anxious. It's a pity that this young master's cultivation is too weak. Even if I know the whereabouts of the Empress, I can't help her. I can only pray to the heavens to give the kind-hearted Empress good luck, and this young master can improve his cultivation as soon as possible. The spirit-severing stage. Xiaohua became dejected. This is not the difference between the qi refining stage and the golden core stage. From the foundation stage to the spirit-severing stage, how long? I'm afraid the Empress has fallen long ago. And, even if the Empress has fallen, this young master will find the murderer and avenge her. Xiaohua became heroic again. A real man can support the heavens and the earth. Since I have received the grace of others, I must repay the grace with a drop of water, and do my best to fulfill their wishes. Moreover, the dark flower that the Empress spoke of seems to be related to me, Shang Huaming. While Xiaohua was thinking, a dozen people appeared at the entrance of the tea house. It was Ziyi and the others. Ziyi entered the tea house, and without looking around, he went upstairs. Cough cough. Fellow Taoist. You don't even have half a spirit stone now. If you go upstairs, what will you use to pay the bill? A lazy voice fell into Ziye's ears. Ziye's face showed ecstasy. He walked a few steps in front of Xiaohua and sized him up. He said word by word. Fellow Taoist Xiao, you made me regain my confidence in the people of this world. If I can't find you in this tea house, this young master will never trust anyone in this life. Haha. You don't have to be like this. Xiaohua got up and threw a spirit stone on the table. He pulled Ziye's hand and walked out of the tea house. Chapter 2290. Xiaohua said as he walked. The deceitfulness of the people of the world will not change because of this Zhao's kindness. The kindness of the people of the world will not change because of this Zhao's deceitfulness. The people of the world are the people of the world. This Xiao is this Xiao. Fellow Taoist Ziyi, losing confidence in this Xiao will not affect the people of the world in the slightest. It can only change fellow Taoist Ziyi's heart. Fellow Taoist Zai, you should comprehend as much as you can. Yes, this little one understands. Ziyi smiled, but then he looked around and said, this little one is now penniless. Fellow Taoist Xiao, don't you want to treat this little one to a cup of spiritual tea? Previously it was your spirit stones, so I drank it. Now it's I's spirit stones. I am not that generous. Throwing spirit stones on meaningless extravagance. At this time, Xiaohua had already brought Ziyi to the outside of the tea house. Ziyi did not understand and said with a smile, this little one did not expect fellow Taoist to have so many spirit stones. Ha ha ha, no matter how many I have, it will not be as generous as fellow Taoist Ziyi. You actually gave your own storage pouch to this poor Taoist. Xiaohua reached out and took out Ziyi's storage pouch, handing it over to Ziyi. This is really beyond I's expectations. Ah? Ziyi took the storage pouch. He was surprised at first, but when he saw that there was not a single item missing from the storage pouch, his eyes almost fell out. You used your own things? Ziyi could not help but moan. You what about me? Xiaohua said with a smile. He patted the storage pouch and took out a jade bottle. This is for fellow Taoist Ziyi. However, You can only look and not speak. What is this? Ziye's surprise did not fade. He put away the storage pouch and took the jade bottle. When he saw the rejuvenation pill inside, he took a deep breath again. Just as he was about to speak, he remembered Xiaohua's warning and quickly shut his mouth. Is one enough? Xiaohua asked with a smile. Ziyi thought for a moment, then shook his head and said with a smile, I'm afraid one is not enough, at least 4. You sure are greedy. Xiaohua had already said this several times, but he didn't hesitate in the slightest. He clapped his hands and took out another jade bottle, handing it over. However, since fellow Taoist Ziyi wants to use it, how can I not take it out? It's true. This works? Midnight was completely speechless, and he stuttered. And after taking benefits from you have to do something for Xiaohua said with a smile. Ziyi raised an eyebrow and replied, That's the reason. If fellow Taoist Xiao has any instructions, feel free to ask. All right. Xiaohua clapped his hand and took out a storage bag. He whispered, Here are the spiritual herbs that are useful to fellow Taoists. They are for fellow Taoists. Fellow Taoists, please have your clan's disciples distribute the useless fine seeds to the nearby commoners. These fine seeds are very important to them. Well, what? Common people of the secular world? Ziyi couldn't imagine that Xiaohua would give him such a strange task. Moreover, he didn't understand it at all. Fellow Taoist, you only need to distribute these rice seeds to them. You don't have to think about anything. Xiaohua knew that this disciple of a cultivation family definitely didn't know anything about farming, so he explained further. All right. Ziyi took the storage bag and scanned it with his divine sense. He suddenly understood. Fellow Taoist Xiao, you're using fellow Taoist Ziyi knows. Xiaohua stopped Ziyi from speaking and raised his hand. Fellow Taoist Ziyi, it's better for you to leave Sky Patrol City quickly. Don't cause any trouble. Ziye's heart trembled. He knew Xiaohua's intention and said proudly, Fellow Taoist Xiao, don't worry. It's just a golden core cultivator, I don't care. Once I leave the teleportation array, there will be people from my clan waiting for me. Oh? Xiaohua's eyes were smiling. He nodded and said, I reckon that fellow Taoist Ziyi has a good foundation, but I didn't expect you to be so powerful. I'm impressed. This is my keepsake. If we're fated, I can. Ziyi took out a keepsake from the storage bag and handed it to Xiaohua. Cough cough. Fu Lu's throat swelled again. Ziyi laughed bitterly and said, If we're fated, you and I can still meet. All right. Xiaohua took the keepsake. It was a crystal clear jade pendant. The inscription on it was quite strange. Xiaohua had never seen it before. However, he didn't have time to look at it carefully at this time. He kept it in the storage bag, and took out a message talisman that he refined himself. This is my message talisman. If you come to Imperial Thunder Sect, you can send it to me. I understand. Ziyi took the message talisman, and was reluctant to leave. Xiaohua nodded at him, cupped his hands, turned around and left. Ziyi kept watching Xiaohua's back disappear in the wind and snow. Then he said in disappointment, Xiaohua is indeed a strange person. This trip to Sky Patrol City is really worth it. Fu Lu, what do you think? Young master. I'm really blind. I really don't dare to say anything. It's really rare for young master to make friends with such a strange person. However, what's the jade bottle he gave you? Fu Lu smiled apologetically. Let's go. We'll talk about it after we get out of Sky Patrol City. Ziyi waved his hand, but his eyes swept around. He smiled and said, After we pass the dangerous gate, I'll let you see it. Yes, young master. Fu Lu naturally knew something. He spread his divine sense around, but he didn't see anything. After Ziyi went in the opposite direction, he saw a wave of spiritual power fluctuating under the eaves in the distance. Li Chengxiu's figure flashed out, and he was wearing a strange robe. How could it be Xiaohua? How could he have so many spirit stones? Li Chengxiu's face was full of astonishment. If this old man hadn't seen through the confusion of the aristocratic family's young servant and followed behind them, how could I have known that the cultivator who made this old man lose face was actually a mere foundation establishment cultivator, O Xiaohua is related to the three elders of Blazing Fire Mountain. The three nascent soul stage seniors even specially supported this guy. Could it be he's working for Blazing Fire Mountain? Li Chengxiu had some understanding, but then he was somewhat puzzled. If Blazing Fire Mountain interferes with this beast cultivator, Huaping of Blazing Fire Mountain should also appear. She's in the conference hall like me. I'm afraid that Blazing Fire Mountain doesn't want to fall out with my Xianlu sect, so they let Xiaohua deliberately mystify things. This Xiaohua is a disciple of Imperial Thunder Sect, but he works for Blazing Fire Mountain. He's really shameless. If Qianmo knew, wouldn't he lose face? No matter what, since I know it's Xiaohua, and he didn't give the storage bag to the person just now, I have to find a way to get the soul as soon as possible. If I don't have a chance within 10 days, I'm afraid that the soul will scatter. I have to keep an eye on Huaping to prevent her from sending the beast cultivator's body out of Sky Patrol City. Thinking of this, Li Chengxiu's face showed a ruthless expression. Xiaohua is really hateful. He actually killed me in front of countless cultivators. If it's someone else, there's naturally the three elders of Blazing Fire Mountain watching over him. But in Sky Patrol City, it's a sword battle. It's too easy to lose a disciple in the early stage of foundation establishment. Immediately, Li Chengxiu's figure flew up and slowly flew in the direction Xiaohua went. He seemed to be looking for Xiaohua, but also seemed to be returning to the conference hall. After Li Chengxiu left, on the other side of the street, which was the opposite side of the tea house, there were also ripples. Moreover, the ripples of magic power were even smaller, almost inaudible. Xiaohua's figure was also revealed. Sure enough, it's just as I expected. Xiaohua's face was the same as Li Chengxiu's. There was also a smile. Li Chengxiu is a gold core stage cultivator, so he can see through Midnight's confusion. Maybe he can't see clearly, but it's enough to pay attention. He really did follow Midnight to the tea house. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have been deliberately mystifying and would have directly waited for Midnight in front of the EG. Since this guy knows it's me who did it, he will definitely make some moves. I still have to be careful and be on guard. I don't want to fall into his trap. Xiaohua's figure flashed slightly and disappeared again. Fortunately, I just appeared in the tea house, otherwise this guy will definitely make trouble for Midnight. It's also strange, which aristocratic family does Midnight belong to in the Three Kingdoms? He's not even afraid of a gold core stage cultivator? I don't know even if I break my head. Xiaohua returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect's encampment. He didn't see any obstacles outside the gate, nor did he see Li Chengxiu's figure. Xiaohua checked the token and went in. When he passed through the restriction and entered the attic, he was stunned. Apart from Cui Hongshen, who was on duty, who was also present, apart from the two members of the first squad, the captain of the second squad, Qian Yuan, who had previously caused trouble, and that short disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Palace were also present. Seeing Xiaohua come in, these two people immediately got up and cupped their hands in salute, saying, Qian Yuan, Qian greets junior brother Xiao. And greetings, senior brothers. Xiaohua stopped and cupped his hands in salute, saying with a smile, You two sit down and talk as you please. I still have to cultivate, so I won't accompany you too. Don't be impatient, junior brother Xiao. Qian Yuan simply didn't care about Xiaohua ignoring him. He stretched out his hand and said with a smile, Sit down first. I still have something to tell fellow Daoist Xiao. With me? Xiaohua smiled and waved his hand, saying, I'm just a disciple of the first squad. What can you tell me? Everything should be discussed with our Captain Cui. Xiaohua. Cui Hongshan berated in a low voice. Senior brother Qian is the captain of the second squad after all, and also a senior brother of my Heavenly Thunder Palace. How can you leave without even listening? That's very disrespectful. You're also throwing the face of my Myriad Thunder Valley. Alright. Seeing Cui Hongshan mention the Myriad Thunder Valley, Xiaohua had no choice but to nod and say, Senior brother Qian, please tell me. I won't sit down. Hurry up and tell me. I really want to cultivate. Many thanks, junior brother Xiao. Qian Yuan was very happy and cupped his hands in salute. Chapter 2291. Looking at Xiaohua. Qian Yuan says with an apologetic smile. It was my fault before. I didn't ask clearly before creating a rift with junior brother Xiao. Oh, Captain Chui. Just now. I apologized to Captain Chui and Vice Captain Zhen. Now, I'm going to apologize to junior brother Xiao again. No need. Captain Chui is right. You and I are both disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Now that we're working hand in hand to resist the enemy, all the conflicts between us are nothing. Xiaohua says with a smile. Yes, junior brother Xiao is right. Qian Yuan says with a happy face. We should work hand in hand to resist the enemy. I've already asked the team leader of the Heavenly Thunder Palace, and just told Captain Chui that I want to join your team. I wonder, what does junior brother Xiao think? Xiaohua stares blankly and looks at Chui Hongshan, asking curiously, if Qian Yuan and Qian join our team, who will be the captain? There's no need to make any changes. Qian Yuan doesn't wait for Chui Hongshan to speak and immediately says with a wave of his hand, Captain Chui and Vice Captain Zhen will naturally be the captains of the first team. We'll just be ordinary team members. Senior brothers, your cultivation is higher than mine, and you have experience in leading teams. I originally wanted to give in, but since you insist, I can't do anything. Chui Hongshan's eyes flash with a trace of a smile. This smile carries a trace of pride. Although Chui Hongshan knows that 2 disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Palace took the initiative to be his subordinates, he can't help but feel proud. Although that trace of pride is very little, Xiaohua can see it clearly. Immediately, Xiaohua can't help but compare Ziyi with Chui Hongshan. Alas, forget it. We really can't compare. Xiaohua thinks and waves his hand saying, Captain Chui can make the decision. What does it have to do with me? In my eyes, there's only the Heavenly Thunder Palace and the Heavenly Thunder Palace. The others have nothing to do with me. Junior brother Xiao. Qian Yuan's face is very awkward. He smiles apologetically. I can't do anything, alas, senior brother Qian. There's no need to explain. Xiaohua doesn't turn his head and walks towards the quiet room. Imperial Thunder Sect has so many disciples. I have some means, but how many can I take care of? Senior brother Qian came to my first squad just to make things difficult for me. Xiaohua, the 2 senior brothers have their difficulties. Chui Hongshan hurriedly tried to explain. I've already said that fellow Daoist Chui is the captain of the first team. Don't ask me about these things. When Xiaohua saw that Chui Hongshan was using him to curry favor with the Heavenly Thunder Palace, he was immediately displeased. This Xiao is just doing his best and doing his job. After saying that, he left without saying another word. Sigh, this guy has always been like this. Chui Hongshan's face was also filled with helplessness. My master was also infuriated by him in Myriad Thunder Valley. I know that all experts have weird tempers. The embarrassment on Qian Yuan's face didn't disappear. He smiled apologetically and said, What junior brother Xiao said is very reasonable. He, after all, is only a foundation establishment disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. He can't influence the battle of swordsmanship. It's already good that he tried his best to protect a few disciples. We forget it, let's not talk about it. I'm sorry for my rudeness. Farewell. Qian Yuan knew that he couldn't continue. Although Chui Hongshan's tone had already agreed, he couldn't give a definite answer. Obviously, he wanted to know what Xiaohua was thinking. But Xiaohua had flatly refused. Even if Chui Hongshan really agreed to let him join the first team, Xiaohua didn't put him in his eyes. He was also estranged from the Heavenly Thunder Palace disciples. If he encountered a sword cultivator, he would still be the unlucky one. It was better to think of another way. This little brother respectfully sees you 2 senior brothers off. Chui Hongshan's face was still filled with a bitter smile as he accompanied the 2 of them out of the pavilion. Good boy, Martial Uncle Xiao is really amazing. Zhen Hua, who was on duty at the side, said with envy in his eyes. Those are 2 middle foundation establishment stage martial uncles of the Heavenly Thunder Palace. They can be considered to have some fame in the Imperial Thunder Sect. They actually have to give face to the disciples of my Heavenly Thunder Palace. After Chui Hongshan saw the 2 of them off, he returned. There was no change in his expression. He didn't dare to answer Qian Yuan for a long time. because he saw Xiaohua's attitude. If Xiaohua wasn't willing, he couldn't do anything. Moreover, his heart was even more at ease. Xiaohua still had Heavenly Thunder Palace and Myriad Thunder Valley in his heart. Not to mention Cui Hongshan returning to the quiet room to cultivate. Xiaohua was sitting upright in the quiet room. He first looked at the little duck in the space. The blood stain on its neck had already coagulated and didn't worsen. It was sleeping soundly, similar to Goldie's original appearance. Good. Xiaohua nodded inwardly. He took out the magic slip he had exchanged with the female cultivator. Full of expectation, he invaded it with his Buddhist consciousness. Then, after only a moment, he opened his eyes in extreme disappointment and said with a bitter smile, "Damn it, this young master thought it was something good." Unexpectedly, someone fought with this young master over it. It turned out to be nothing more than a record of the demon world. And a record of the space crack. That crack also belongs to the demon world. It has nothing to do with the Dawn Rain continent. This young master wasted a rejuvenation pill for nothing. A rejuvenation pill, ah. That's a rejuvenation pill worth hundreds of thousands of top-grade spirit stones, ah. This won't do. After the war, I must go to that female cultivator's sect to take a look. If I don't get a few more demon tools, I'll really suffer a loss. AI, if it's a normal day, this young master will also take it as a pastime. There's no harm in looking at it. But now how can I have the leisure to look at this? Not to mention that old ghost Jing Su. Even that guy Li Qingxiu is thinking about this young master. Xiaohua still has to hurry up and cultivate, ah. Right, the most important thing now is to help second senior brother refine the dragon silver gilt. He repeatedly warned me that this is a demon tool that concerns his life. I have to be careful. But this young master has been comprehending the blood drop paradise of the demon world for so long. It seems to be unable to cultivate in the Dawn Rain continent, ah. Then those so-called demon cultivators, what do they cultivate? Do they cultivate the demon infant? There doesn't seem to be any records of the demon infant in this blood drop paradise, ah. Thinking of this, Xiaohua frowned again. In order to let Xiaohua refine the dragon silver gilt, Zhang Qingxiao also gave Xiaohua the blood drop paradise of the demon world's demon monarch, hoping that he could comprehend something from it. However, after Xiaohua's comprehension, he suddenly discovered that this blood drop paradise relied on the demon qi of the demon world to cultivate a so-called demon flame. The cultivation realm was also related to the realm of the demon flame. It was completely different from the cultivation of the Dawn Rain continent. There was no concept of gold core or nascent soul. Not only was he unable to cultivate, he also didn't know what it meant. Zhang Qingxiao naturally also gave Xiaohua the refining technique of the demon world. But that refining technique was also different from the method of the Dawn Rain continent. Not only did it require demon flame and demon fire, it also required demon blood. Under the effect of these things from the demon world, the broken parts of the dragon silver gilt could be connected together, and then completely fused with the unique striking technique of the demon world. Xiaohua's blood could be used, but he didn't have demon fire or demon flame. Previously, although the lightning in the Myriad Thunder Valley connected the broken parts of the dragon silver gilt together, it didn't really fuse. It still couldn't show the true power of the dragon silver gilt. Demon fire. Xiaohua's eyes suddenly lit up again. Although I don't have demon fire, I have spiritual fire. This spiritual fire is the shell of spiritual fire of the demon world. And it was ignited by the origin of fire. It's definitely more powerful than demon fire, right? But now we're not in the Myriad Thunder Valley. Where did the lightning strike come from? How can the broken parts be perfectly fused together? And let's go take a look. Xiaohua thought of the refining place provided by the Sky Patrol City to the Imperial Thunder Sect. Maybe there are some things that can be used? Moreover, it doesn't matter where I cultivate and how much noise I make. It won't attract attention. After thinking, Xiaohua walked out of the quiet room again. Marshal Uncle Xiao, you're going out again? Zhenhe was surprised to see Xiaohua go in and out again. And I'll be in the station. If you need anything, you can send me a message. Xiaohua nodded and walked out quickly, leaving behind Zhenhe's puzzled gaze. When Xiaohua arrived at the place where the weapon was being refined, it was exactly the same as before. When Xiaohua stepped into the cave, he saw that the deep and serene cave led straight into the depths of the mountain rocks. From his mouth and nose, the faint smell of saltpeter and earth fire drifted over. Xiaohua spread out his spiritual sense. There was a restriction in the cave, so it couldn't be too far away. In his spiritual sense, there was no disciple of the Sky Patrol City. Xiaohua unconsciously frowned. This was different from what the Imperial Thunder Sect disciple said. After thinking for a while, Xiaohua walked inside and released his spiritual sense to find the Sky Patrol City disciple on duty. Where did this cultivator come from? How dare you trespass into the area of my Sky Patrol City? Xiaohua walked for more than 10 feet, and a slightly majestic voice came from behind him. Damn it! How did I trespass? Isn't it just that there's no one on duty? Xiaohua was slightly angry. He turned his head and saw an early-stage Foundation establishment city guard standing in front of the cave. His shadow was extremely long under the sunlight. I am Xiaohua of the Imperial Thunder Sect. I'm here to repair my magic tool. Xiaohua suppressed his anger and said, I saw that there was no one guarding the cave entrance, so I went inside to look for you. This is the area of my Sky Patrol City, not your Imperial Thunder Sect station. How can you just barge in? The city guard was very disdainful and said coldly. Xiaohua was angry and said coldly, When I came here, there was no one. Now I'm standing here. Why do you want to report it? Go ahead. After saying that, Xiaohua turned around and walked inside again. The city guard of the Sky Patrol City was dumbfounded. This guy naturally left his post. After returning, he actually saw someone breaking into the cave. Of course, he was surprised. This was him leaving his post without permission. Previously, there were many Imperial Thunder Sect disciples who came to investigate, but they were all cautious and most of them had a smile on their faces. He naturally regarded Xiaohua as an early-stage Foundation establishment disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect, and casually scolded him. But when he saw Xiaohua turn around and go in again, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Not for anything else, anyone who thought about it a little understood that if he was standing guard in the cave, how could Xiaohua walk into the cave? Now that Xiaohua could walk into the cave, it must be that he was not on duty at the cave entrance. Unless the city guard instantly had an idea. Chapter 2292. Of course, this dark thought only flashed through his mind. After all, Xiaohua was an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, and he did not have the confidence to win. Moreover, Xiaohua had already gone deep into the cave, and he really could not explain anything. Oh, fellow Taoist. The city guard immediately changed his tone and said anxiously, It's all my fault, please take your time, take your time. With that, the city guard's figure fluttered and chased after Xiaohua. What did you do wrong? It's all I's fault. Xiaohua ignored him and continued walking. Senior brother, please don't leave. If you leave, I won't be able to keep my life. The city guard was almost crying. His tone was pleading. Oh. When Xiaohua heard that it was related to his life, he stopped and turned his head and said coldly, Now you know you're wrong? The city guard was a little surprised. After all, Xiaohua was the same as him, an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, and Xiaohua's face was very young, only about 20 years old. He was not even comparable to his martial nephew. However, Xiaohua's tone was more dignified than his master's. For a moment, the city guard almost treated Xiaohua as a senior in the Golden Core realm. Yes, it's indeed my fault. The city guard shook his head slightly and came back to his senses. He said more respectfully, I shouldn't have been so disrespectful to you. You're wrong. Xiaohua waved his hand and shook his head. It's not that you're disrespectful to I don't like it. It's your opinion of my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples. The city guard was a little puzzled, and he really could not understand. My Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples came to Sky Patrol City not to take advantage of your city, nor to tour the mountains and rivers. We're here to fight with sword cultivators. Your Sky Patrol City provides places for alchemy and weapon refinement. That's what you should do. Xiaohua said unceremoniously. These things shouldn't require any spirit stones. Not only did your Sky Patrol City ask for spirit stones, But you also have the face to treat my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples. What do you mean this is the Sky Patrol City's territory, and we can't trespass? Can we enter at will with spirit stones? Is trespassing without spirit stones trespassing? Fellow Taoist, fellow Taoist. The city guard hurriedly waved his hand and said, "This matter is too serious. This lowly one is only a city guard, but because my cultivation is higher, I was sent here to guard the pill refining cave. This lowly one doesn't understand a single word you're saying. However, since I have offended you just now, the fee for entering the pill refinement cave can be reduced. But if he doesn't accept a single spirit stone, then I'll have to fork it out myself. Please be magnanimous." Well, that's more like it. Xiaohua was very satisfied in his heart. After asking about the amount, he took out the spirit stones and handed them over. He then asked, "After I finish repairing the artifact, I still want to find a place to practice alchemy. Do I still need to pay spirit stones?" "Oh, there's no need." The city guard smiled apologetically and said, "I'll let you know, fellow Taoist. The pill refinement location is the same as the weapon refinement location. Fellow Taoist, you only need to open a quiet room, and you will even have the materials to refine yellow talismans. Of course, the materials used by fellow Taoist also need to be kept in spirit stones. The price of the materials are all marked in the quiet room." "Yes," Xiaohua nodded. "I may stay in the quiet room for a bit longer. Are the spirit stones just now enough? How long does fellow Taoist need?" The city guard obviously didn't expect Xiaohua to stay for a long time, and said, "Actually, the spirit qi in this quiet room isn't as abundant as the spirit qi outside. Moreover, the fire inside is vigorous, and the spirit qi of heaven and earth with fire attribute is somewhat complicated. It's not suitable for cultivation. At least 3 months, at most half a year." Xiaohua thought for a moment. "This will depend on whether I have a mission or not. Right, the communication talisman can be sent here, right?" "Fellow Taoist, don't worry. Although there is a restriction here, it doesn't prohibit communication talismans," the city guard hurriedly said. "Just now, I only asked for a month's worth of spirit stones. If fellow Taoist wants to stay for a long time, you will have to spend more spirit stones." "All right." Xiaohua silently calculated, took out some spirit stones and handed them over, saying, "If I comes out early, these spirit stones will still have to be returned to I." "Of course. Fellow Taoist, please rest assured." The city guard received the spirit stones and handed Xiaohua a scarlet token with the number 13 on it. He smiled and said, "In this alchemy cave, the fire in the first 50 quiet rooms is very hot. It's suitable for alchemy and refining. There are only 3 people assigned to the Imperial Thunder Sect. Fellow Taoist, you are the first Taoist from the Imperial Thunder Sect to come to the alchemy cave to repair artifacts." "Oh, is that so?" Xiaohua was slightly stunned. He thought that this was an alchemy cave specially left for the Imperial Thunder Sect disciples by the Imperial Thunder City. Only now did he know that it was actually a function of each sect. "Then which sect has the most disciples?" Xiaohua asked curiously. "There are not many disciples in any sect." The city guard smiled and said, "This is the first stage of the war. Those who come to the Imperial Thunder City are all cultivators below the Golden Core realm. How many of them know about refining artifacts and alchemy? Cultivators at your level of cultivation are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. In other words, there are not many people in this alchemy cave now. To tell you the truth, there are many fellow Taoists who come to this alchemy cave." The city guard nodded. "But most of them stay for a few days. At most, they leave after 20 days. There are only about 10 disciples in the alchemy cave now. When fellow Taoist comes out of the alchemy cave, you can use your magic power to activate this token. The token will fly to me. Before I rush to the quiet room, I will check how many materials you have consumed in the alchemy cave," the city guard explained again. "Okay. Got it. Thank you." Xiaohua took the token and did not ask any more questions. He followed the direction pointed by the city guard. Good boy. Although this cultivator is in the early stage of the foundation establishment realm, his aura is restrained. He is different from the other cultivators I saw before. Although his tone is kind, there is an unquestionable tone. It seems like he is ordering me. He is basically like a golden core realm cultivator. After Xiaohua left calmly, the city guard looked at Xiaohua's back and thought to himself. Sure enough, when a wild goose passes by, it leaves a sound, and when a person passes by, it leaves a shadow. In this world, there is no cultivation method that can completely deceive people. Although Xiaohua's cultivation method of deceiving people was very skillful, even when facing a nascent soul realm cultivator, he was calm and unafraid of being recognized. However, after Xiaohua's realm increased, his strength reached the late stage of the Golden Core realm. When facing an early stage Foundation Establishment realm city guard again, how could he have the same attitude as before? Especially after being angry, that tone and manner of doing things was not something an early stage Foundation Establishment realm cultivator should have. It was no wonder that this early stage Foundation Establishment realm city guard was suspicious. Not to mention that Xiaohua entered the alchemy cave. At the Immortal Music Sect's encampment, Li Chengxiu was sitting on a jade chair in a quiet room. On the table beside his hand, there was a cup of spirit tea that was slowly emitting steam. On the jade plate beside him, there were a dozen or so thumb-sized, ice-like spirit fruits. These spirit fruits were strange. They clearly looked sparkling and translucent, but within the translucency, there were countless strands of flesh. The flesh was like catkins that wrapped around the core of the fruit. Li Chengxiu's gaze was looking at these spirit fruits, and he seemed to like them very much. If it was a normal day, he would have already picked one up and put it into his mouth, carefully tasting this clear snow fruit unique to the Sky Patrol City. But today, his eyes revealed a trace of anxiety, waiting for something. After a long while, the spirit tea had already lost its steam. Li Chengxiu couldn't help but stand up and walk out of the quiet room. With a whoosh, a sound transmission talisman flew in. Li Chengxiu raised his eyebrows, obviously very happy. He raised his hand to catch the sound transmission talisman, but when he finished listening to the sound transmission talisman, disappointment appeared on his face. He pinched his hand slightly, and the sound transmission talisman turned into a ray of light that floated in the air. Humph! Really useless things. You only know that Xiaohua didn't come out, but you have no way to find where he is? Is he in the Imperial Thunder Sect's encampment? Li Chengxiu snorted coldly and whispered. If it weren't for the fact that I can't use my magic power because of the invisibility talisman, I would have followed behind Xiaohua long ago. Why is it so difficult for you to do something? Can't you get something out of a message? Soon after, Li Chengxiu dispelled the idea of going out and paced back and forth in the quiet room. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he raised his head and said, "Could it be that Zheng Jie has encountered some difficulties? 3 late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators, chasing down a few middle-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators, shouldn't be a problem, right? He's just a servant of a cultivation family. Even if he's at the middle stage of Foundation Establishment, how could he be a match for a disciple of a cultivation sect? Forget it." Thinking this, Li Chengxiu took out a messaging talisman from his storage pouch and whispered a few words. The messaging talisman flew out. Not long after, an old man with white hair and beard entered the quiet room. He respectfully bowed and said, "Junior Huang Yong greets Martial Uncle Li. Does Martial Uncle have any instructions?" And this old man sent Zheng Jie out to do something, but he hasn't returned for a long time. There's also no news. Go and look for him. Yes. Huang Yong nodded and said, "Where did Junior Martial Brother Zheng Jie go?" This old man doesn't know either. Li Chengxiu clapped his hands and took out his token. He handed it to Huang Yong and said, "Take this token and go to the transmitting formation in Sky Patrol City. Ask about Zheng Jie's whereabouts. You don't have to chase too closely. Just find their traces. Quickly come back and report to this old man." Huang Yong's heart trembled. He took the token and cupped his hands, saying, "This disciple understands. I'll go now." And, "Go quickly and come back quickly." Li Chengxiu hesitated for a moment and said, "Zheng Jie might be chasing after a swordsman from the Sword Cultivator sect. You should be careful." "Thank you for your concern, Martial Uncle." Huang Yong's heart warmed, and he hurriedly turned and left. Seeing Huang Yong leave, Li Qingshu's heart calmed down a little. However, his buttocks had only sat on the jade chair for a moment before he stood up again and said angrily, "Damn it! I asked you to keep an eye on the encampment of the Ardent Fire Mountain. Why hasn't there been any news back yet? Did Huaping go out? Did she go to the auction? Did any strange disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect come to visit? Doesn't she know that I'm anxious?" Chapter 2293. The soul of an 8th grade spirit beast was indeed too rare. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Li Qingshu to feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. He believed that the situation of the auction would soon reach Taoist Master Blue Feather's ears. He did his best, but in the end he didn't get the beast cultivator's body. Even if he told Taoist Master Blue Feather about Xiaohua, the beast cultivator's body would have already arrived at Ardent Fire Mountain or died. What use would that be? Rather than that, he might as well directly tell Taoist Blue Feather that he didn't know that Xiaohua was the culprit and push the blame to another Jindan cultivator, or even a nascent soul cultivator. This way, he would be able to retain some face. Letting an early Foundation establishment cultivator snatch something from his hands, even if it was during the auction, Li Qingshu couldn't afford to lose face. Humph, the Xiaohua is really cunning. He actually waited for that disciple in the tea house. This old man didn't dare to kill him on the street. When this old man chased after him, I didn't know where he went. This old man hurriedly mobilized disciples to guard the Imperial Thunder sect's encampment. When I rushed to the Ardent Fire Mountain's encampment, this guy didn't go to the Ardent Fire Mountain. I don't know where he went in between. Could it be that he already sent the beast cultivator's body out? It's possible. When this old man saw Xiaohua, this guy didn't have a spirit storage bag on his waist. He must have given the spirit storage bag to the disciple of the Ardent Fire Mountain when this old man was watching that disciple and tracking him to the tea house. Then the disciple of the Ardent Fire Mountain gave it to Huaping. Huaping, you didn't dare to bid with this old man and actually used the hands of the Imperial Thunder sect's disciple. You are really too calculating. This old man provoked Xiaohua, which naturally means provoking the Imperial Thunder sect. And your Ardent Fire Mountain is the driving force behind Xiaohua. Isn't this making this old man offend two sects? Li Qingshu's face turned cold. This old man isn't that stupid. Since I can't do it openly, this old man will do it secretly. Killing a Foundation establishment cultivator is really easy for this old man. But finding the beast cultivator's body is a difficult matter. However, is the face of a golden core cultivator so easily torn? Since he dared to oppose this old man, he should be prepared to be killed. While Li Qingshu was lost in his thoughts, half a day passed quickly. Huang Yong, who had gone out to look for Zheng Jia, returned. Upon hearing Huang Yong's report, Li Qingshu was once again in disbelief. You're saying that you found Zheng Jia's mark as soon as you left the teleportation formation, but you didn't find anything when you arrived? Yes, good. Uncle Master knows. Huang Yong's face was also filled with bewilderment. That was indeed a place sealed in ice. There were only glaciers all around and not a single person could be seen. There were also no traces of transcendence energy being used. Junior brother Zheng Jia's imprint had mysteriously disappeared and could no longer be found. I was afraid that I might have missed something, so I searched everywhere within a radius of 10 miles, but I didn't find any traces. My Immortal Music School's 3 late Foundation establishment cultivators just disappeared without a trace? Li Qingshu didn't know if he was talking to himself or asking Huang Yong. Yes, it's a little strange. Huang Yong smiled apologetically. I'm afraid that sword cultivator is too powerful? Even if it's an illusory sword cultivator, there should be traces of fighting. Of course, Li Qingshu knew that it couldn't have been done by a sword cultivator. He was just searching in his mind. In the end, which cultivation family was so bold and had such great ability to quietly kill 3 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators from Immortal Music sect? However, there were too many cultivation families in Sky Patrol City, so he really couldn't figure it out. It seems that this matter has to fall on Xiaohua. Li Qingshu secretly gritted his teeth. Well, you can go now. Li Qingshu waved his hand. Keep this matter a secret. Don't cause any panic in my school. I understand. I'll keep my mouth shut. Huang Yong panicked and bowed before leaving. Sigh, I'll use the secret method of Sky Patrol City, first to see if Zheng Jia and the others' natal spiritual tablets are broken. Li Qingshu thought as he left the quiet room and went to the meeting hall. 2 hours later, Li Qingshu appeared near the Imperial Thunder Sect's encampment. His face was extremely gloomy. Sure enough, Zheng Jia and the others' natal spiritual tablets are broken. To think that he had been killed without a sound. If I don't find out which cultivation family did it, how can I give up? Thinking about this, he sent out a message charm. Not long after, a cultivator wearing a camouflage cloth slowly flew over. When he saw Li Qingshu, he immediately removed the cloth. He was an Qi refining disciple. Disciple greets martial ancestrally. Well, what's the situation? Li Qingshu waved his hand and asked softly. Martial ancestrally, according to disciple's investigation, Xiaohua entered the Imperial Thunder Sect's encampment and never came out. That's all. Li Qingshu frowned slightly. Also the disciple smiled apologetically. Martial ancestrally, it's not that disciple didn't do his best. Now is the time of the war, so it's not normal. Disciple is a good friend of 1 or 2 disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect. But they are the same as my Immortal Music Sect, and they are all divided into small teams. It is said that Xiaohua is in the Imperial Thunder Sect's first small team, and they live in a secluded pavilion. The pavilion is protected by restrictions, and those who have nothing to do with it cannot go near it. Oh, the first team of the Imperial Thunder Sect? Li Qingshu suddenly realized and secretly said, aren't they the disciples led by that Imperial Thunder Sect cultivator surnamed Chui? Did they just come back from Chicken Crow Mountain? That's right. Li Qingshu nodded. You're actually able to find out about the first team of the Imperial Thunder Sect. This old man will reward you later. Many thanks, martial ancestor. The disciple was very happy. Continue to wait here. As long as you see Xiaohua come out, immediately report to this old man. Li Qingshu whispered. Also, carefully investigate this first team of the Imperial Thunder Sect. If there are any other disciples. Yes, disciple understands. The disciple first cupped his hands, then said with difficulty, it's not too difficult to find out what disciples there are, but some Imperial Thunder Sect disciples leave the encampment wearing camouflage cloth. Moreover, the Imperial Thunder Sect disciples don't check their tokens. This little one can't determine which one is Xiaohua. No matter, you can only see. This old man won't blame you even if you can't. Li Qingshu said amiably, then immediately changed to Immortal Music School's encampment. This matter is really troublesome. This old man has to think carefully. While walking, Li Qingshu was still pondering. Xiaohua didn't know about this. Following the direction pointed by the city guard, he walked into the depths. Sure enough, after passing through a few bends, there were several forks in front of him. There were several spacious roads that led to several different directions. This road was extremely tall, and there were Minghua stones inlaid on it. At a glance, there were different gates arranged in different sections, looking very spectacular. Unfortunately, at this time, it was silent. When Xiaohua's footsteps landed, it actually made an ear-piercing sound of footsteps that reverberated in the cave. Chapter 2294. Xiaohua looked around and chose the path in the middle. The doors on both sides of the path were even more magnificent, and the numbers on them were also within 100. As Xiaohua went deeper into the path, the numbers gradually became smaller. It's here. He saw a big 13 written on the door on his left. Xiaohua stopped and sized up the door from top to bottom. Then he turned his head to look at the door on his left. The doors closer to the door all had the same appearance. They were tall bluestone rocks with layers of wave-like stripes on them. Between the stripes, there were talismans that looked like scattered pearls. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and placed the command medallion that the city guard gave him in his palm. As soon as he opened his palm, the number on the door immediately changed. The number twisted strangely and turned into a talisman that Xiaohua was familiar with. Then the talisman emitted waves of light that rippled from the center of the door to the outside. At the same time, the wave-like stripes also swelled and the talismans in between the stripes emitted transformations. Whoosh! A strong suction force came from the door, and the token in Xiaohua's hand was sucked into it. Like a stone falling on the surface of a lake, a fist-sized rune splashed out from the restriction above the door. When this rune fell in a very strange manner, a milky white brilliance flashed from where the rune fell and split into two halves. It quickly separated into two sides of the door. It was like a stone hitting half the sky. The door suddenly became transparent. It was a huge door. How interesting. Xiaohua chuckled and scanned with his divine sense. He knew that the restriction had been opened and stepped into the door. Behind the door, the token floated in the air. Behind the door was a huge quiet room that was divided into three parts. On the left was some commonly used materials to refine yellow talismans. In the middle was the earth fire used to refine pills. On the right was the earth fire used to refine weapons. There were a lot of commonly used materials piled up there. A very rich and hot spiritual chi of heaven and earth rushed towards him. It was not compatible with the cold weather of Sky Patrol City. Xiaohua walked in front of the earth fire with interest, and picked up the command token beside it. He tapped it with his hand, and the command token flashed. A scarlet light rushed into the earth fire, and the earth fire gushed out. Looking at the yellow-red earth fire, Xiaohua inwardly nodded. The quality of this earth fire was indeed not bad. It was exactly what was used for refining pills and refining tools. Then, Xiaohua extinguished the earth fire and walked to the refining side. He casually looked at the materials used for refining weapons, and a mocking expression appeared on his face. Damn it, Sky Patrol City is really black-hearted. Even if these materials were used in EG, they wouldn't be so expensive. It was no wonder that most of the disciples would rather go to EG and let the cultivators from other shops refine than refine here. Other than being convenient, there's really nothing good about it. Xiaohua released his divine sense and scanned the entire room. Knowing that there was nothing wrong, he took out a praying mat and sat down. With a slap of his hand, the silver-armored dragon flew out of the space. When he was in the Myriad Thunder Valley, Xiaohua used the Demon Realm's blood refining method to connect the silver-armored dragon together. However, it was obvious that there was nothing special about connecting these four demonic tools together. It was no different from being separated. Xiaohua himself was also clear that the connection was only a connection. The entire silver-armored dragon was not completely fused together. If he wanted to display the power of the silver-armored dragon to the extent that Zhang Qingxiao said it could save his life, he would have to put in a lot of hard work. Xiaohua opened his mouth and spat out the scarlet spiritual fire from his Buddha heart. It floated in the air as if it was still. Go. Xiaohua hesitated for a moment, and formed a fire seal. The spiritual fire turned into a wisp of fire thinner than a hair, and wrapped around the broken part of the silver-armored dragon. However, Xiaohua was surprised by what happened next. The spiritual fire seemed to be invisible and couldn't land on the silver-armored dragon at all, so there was no way to connect it. Spiritual fire can't be used to refine weapons? This was Xiaohua's first reaction. After he formed a few fire seals and couldn't do anything, Xiaohua kept the spiritual fire. It turned into a bean and stood quietly in the air. Staring at the spiritual fire that seemed to be able to melt everything but didn't seem to have any heat at all, Xiaohua was very puzzled. After a long while, Xiaohua suddenly raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Spiritual fire is the origin of fire. Naturally, it can contain all kinds of fire. How can it be used to refine weapons? I'm using a sledgehammer to crack a nut." Thinking of this, Xiaohua kept the spirit stone and opened his mouth, spitting out the icicle Zhu flame. At this time, the icicle Zhu flame was clearly different from before. If the previous weak flame was a seed, then the current icicle Zhu flame had already grown into a big tree. The five-colored brilliance of the icicle Zhu flame devoured the spiritual energy of heaven and earth around it, emitting an astonishing aura like a lion. My goodness, it didn't seem to be this powerful when refining weapons in the Zhongling mountain village. Xiaohua saw the power of the icicle Zhu flame, and couldn't help but be surprised. The Luan family said that this fire can melt everything in the world. It's really true. Haha. The heavens are really helping me. That day, Luanqing had said that when this Lingyin flame was at its peak, it could be used to refine the Great Wisdom Sword. It could be compared to the Devil Realm's Devil Fire. His Lingyin flame had already declined and was already thin. Of course, it could not be refined. But now, this young master's icicle Zhu flame is gradually growing stronger under the nourishment of the ancient god technique. I'm afraid it can be used to refine the ancient dragon's silver gilt. However, this young master has never seen any heart refinement technique until now. The 5 elements refinement technique of the world refinement technique is already the best refinement technique in the world. Thinking of this, Xiaohua silently recited the refining technique of the demon realm and urged the icicle Zhu flame to burn the ancient dragon's silver gilt. After a cup of tea's time, Xiaohua's divine sense had already sensed that there was indeed some movement at the broken part of the ancient dragon's silver gilt. If he used the blood-melting technique, coupled with the icicle Zhu flame and the lightning strike, this ancient dragon's silver gilt would be repaired again. Great! Xiaohua clapped and laughed. Second senior brother is indeed not as lucky as this young master. If you had given me this demon jade slip when I was in Guihe Sea, I would have been able to repair the ancient dragon's silver gilt when I was in seclusion. Why do you have to go through so much trouble now? Forget it. Let's take a look at the demon jade slip in the blood drop heavenly cave. After the battle is over, I will return to the myriad Thunder Valley to refine this ancient dragon's silver gilt. Xiaohua stored the icicle vermilion flame back into his Buddhist heart and began to nurture it like the spirit fire. He clapped his hands again and took out the many white bones and toad-like soul tools he had obtained from the EG. Xiaohua knew that these white bones and soul items came from millions of Ming mountains. Ordinary Taoist techniques would not be able to find out the details of them, and ordinary cultivators would not know the use of these white bones. Otherwise, they would not have left so many white bones on EG, and no one would bother with them. When Xiaohua closed his eyes, his nascent divinity in the mysterious dark clouds immediately sensed something. That nascent divinity was currently inside the layers of dark clouds, as if Xiaohua was sitting cross-legged inside the dark clouds. It was different from Xiaohua's imagination. That place was like a world of its own. The surroundings were dark and gloomy. Xiaohua's nascent divinity could only sense a small area around him. However, according to Xiaohua's feeling when he first saw this mysterious dark cloud, this dark cloud should be extremely large. Perhaps it was the same as the so-called 9 heavens of spirit origin of soul cultivators. If Xiaohua's cultivation was successful, he should be able to control this mysterious dark cloud. Of course, Xiaohua's soul cultivation technique was still not at the entry level. His nascent divinity was only in the lowest layer of the dark cloud, surrounded by countless soul threads. Following Xiaohua's cultivation, the soul strand seems to be able to breathe, moving back and forth. Xiaohua's nascent divinity moved slightly, but the soul threads seemed to have a life of their own. They stretched out from his nascent divinity and came out through the Dharma eye mark on the forehead of the Buddha relic. Those white bones were scattered in the air. Xiaohua's soul threads wrapped around them like tentacles. Suddenly, a faint green fluorescent light was emitted from each of the white bones. Each fluorescent light was a group of words that looked like green seal script. However, these words were much simpler than the words on Zhongling Mountain Villa and Setting Sun Island. They didn't have any mysterious power. Every time the soul threads touched a group of words, the words would turn into a wave that shook the soul threads. The wave would then follow the soul threads and enter Xiaohua's nascent divinity. After half a day, the waves on the white bones were recognized one by one. Xiaohua's nascent divinity withdrew the soul threads. The soul threads seemed to be tired and tightly wrapped around his nascent divinity, not moving at all. Xiaohua quietly sat cross-legged like this. It wasn't until 10 days later that he opened his eyes. A trace of understanding flashed through his eyes, but then the corners of his mouth curled into a bitter smile. I knew it. This soul cultivation technique is so difficult to cultivate. This young master has cultivated for so long, but there's almost no progress. It turns out that I've cultivated it wrongly. His cultivation technique was originally written in green seal script. It's completely wrong for you to use the words of a cultivator to describe it. Moreover, that senior has the foundation of the Tao sect. Many parts of the technique were based on his own ideas. He took it for granted when he described it. It's simply different from what others have recorded. Moreover, this soul cultivation technique actually has these waves. It feels very strange. Haha, but if it's not so strange, how can it compete with the Tao sect? How can it be mysterious? Then Xiaohua laughed loudly. It's a pity. There are many techniques in these white bones, but most of them are incomplete. Moreover, how deep can the cultivation of sword cultivators be if they can be killed by cultivators at this stage? How deep can the cultivation of the soul cultivators they killed be? This young master has killed many sword cultivators. There are no white bones in their storage bags. Those complete techniques are also extremely low level. They can only be cultivated in the qi circulation realm. However, even so, it's still an authentic soul cultivation technique. This young master has benefited greatly. Xiaohua finished laughing. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The Tao sect's technique was still in his meridians, but the nascent divinity in the mysterious dark clouds was different. Chapter 2295. Just like a real person, his primordial spirit floated in an extremely rhythmic manner. Just like breathing, the surrounding soul strands also bared their fangs and brandished their claws, waving in the air in accordance with the rhythm of the primordial spirit. Along with the swaying of the soul strands, the space around the primordial spirit also underwent subtle changes. Those changes were very profound and extremely small, like the clouds parting to see the sun, and also like the birth of a dark cloud. In short, little by little, an almost imperceptible faint brilliance was born. This brilliance was different from the brilliance of the Tao sect's magic arts. That brilliance was activated by magic power, and emitted by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. This brilliance was abruptly born because of the soul strands and the primordial spirit's fluctuations. Moreover, Xiaohua's primordial spirit, as if sinking to the bottom of the sea, gradually gained a kind of floating power, showing signs of rising to the top of the clouds. Good. Sensing the changes in the primordial spirit and the dancing soul strands, Xiaohua secretly rejoiced in his heart and pulled his mind out of the primordial spirit. Using the mysterious fluctuations to temper the primordial spirit, using the dancing soul strands to assist the primordial spirit becomes increasingly pure. When the primordial spirit is completely bright and illuminates the entire sky, the primordial spirit will also rise to the peak of the sky. When the primordial spirit breaks through the sky and enters the clear spirit sky, then it will have cultivated to the second heaven. Let my primordial spirit cultivate. Let this young master see what the peak of soul cultivation is. What exactly is the soul? Let this young master show everyone the mystery of the soul. This sword cultivation battle is a disaster for others, but for this young master, it is really a rare opportunity. After the soul cultivation technique was settled, Xiaohua looked at the withered toad again. This was a withered toad. What the naked eye, Buddhist sense, and divine sense saw was the same. However, when Xiaohua pulled out a soul strand and touched the toad, a burst of green light burst out, and the same wave of rough fluctuations was transmitted into the soul strand. Yes, Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He split off a portion of his Yuan divinity to comprehend the fluctuations. After a while he nodded and smiled. It really is a soul armament. But this soul armament is different from the soul-sucking bell. As he spoke, Xiaohua sent out a few more soul strands that wrapped around the toad. The soul strands swayed slightly, and the toad gradually grew larger. Then Xiaohua sent a few more soul strands into the toad's back. Croak. With a cry that seemed to have the power to seize souls, a thick tongue shot out from the toad's mouth. Go. Xiaohua waved his hand, and the two soul-absorbing bells flew into the air. The toad's tongue had hit the bell. Clang. The soul-absorbing bell was rung. The sound was like the sound of a large yellow bell. Even Xiaohua's ears were not used to it. Granny, how is this the soul-absorbing bell from before? It should be called the soul-suppressing bell. Or perhaps this is the real soul-absorbing bell. Xiaohua was extremely astonished. Previously, I had to use a secret technique first before I could use this soul-absorbing bell. Now, I only need to activate the soul-absorbing bell, and the souls of cultivators within a radius of several zhang will be shaken into chaos, and may even be pulled out. A soul cultivator's soul armament is really unfathomable. With this soul cultivator's weapon, it's even more powerful than the soul thorn. Who would be afraid of a sword cultivator's siege? Xiaohua happily stored the soul-absorbing bell and the toad into the space. After arranging the soul cultivator's items properly, Xiaohua frowned again. He waved his hand and took out a shabby jade from the space. This jade was obtained by Xiaohua in the Inkcloud Black Forest. It should have been picked up by the gold core old man in the Inkcloud Black Forest. It was already abnormally damaged. Xiaohua originally had a portion of his Yuan divinity split out to comprehend these damaged cultivation methods and secret techniques. Moreover, it was the cultivation methods he obtained. For example, some of the cultivation methods he obtained from Zhang Qingxiao and so on. The reason why Xiaohua took out this jade pendant was because this jade pendant recorded a simplified green seal text. Moreover, the incomplete cultivation method inside was very strange. His Yuan divinity had been comprehending it for a long time, and could already determine that it was absolutely not something cultivated by a human cultivator. Or rather, it was a secret technique that did not rely on the body's meridians to cultivate. This is strange. Xiaohua inserted his Buddhist awareness into the jade. Looking at the green seal script, he held his chin with one hand and continuously scratched it. He secretly pondered in his heart. This cultivation method is somewhat similar to the Buddhist sect's Vajradharma body, but it also has some relation to Shang Huaming's Qi refinement cultivation method. It is even somewhat similar to the celestial body bestowment technique. If it was used on the Phoenix Dharma body, it would be suitable. Unfortunately, the requirements of this secret technique are too harsh. It actually needs the world's spiritual energy to cleanse the body. This Dawn Rain continent is admittedly rich in world's spiritual energy, but until now, I have never truly seen a storm of world's spiritual energy. Oh, right, if that's the case, the netherworld wind in the dark mystery is actually similar to the world's spiritual energy for cleansing the body. Damn it, if I could have obtained this secret technique at that time, wouldn't I have been able to use this secret technique to refine the Phoenix Dharma body? Alas, just relying on the natural infusion of the netherworld wind is still too shallow. These years, this Phoenix Dharma body has not made any progress at all. Forget it, I'll wait for a chance in the future. Xiaohua thought and put the jade into the space, still giving it to the Yuan divinity to comprehend. Moreover, he placed Shang Huaming's Qi refinement cultivation method, celestial body bestowment technique, Vajradharma body, and even the heavenly laws embodiment technique in one place for the Yuan divinity to refer to. And it's time to look at those pill recipes. Xiaohua clapped his hands and held those jade slips that he had exchanged for at a great price in his hands. Xiaohua first looked at the pill recipe for the Azure Spirit pill. It was exactly as he had said to that cultivator. Inside, there were only the types and quantities of various spiritual herbs. There was not even a trace of the refining method. Looking at the blank space, it was actually erased by that cultivator. This cultivator, I wonder which sect he's from. He actually grasped so many pill recipes. Xiaohua thought to himself. If there's no accident, he's also a gold core cultivator. It seems that during the auction that day, there really were a lot of gold core cultivators. Alas, I'm really lucky. If these gold core cultivators all wanted to bid for Er's body, it really wouldn't be easy for this young master to obtain it. However, for the sake of the Empress, even if this young master has to stake it all, this young master will still bid for her. After looking at the pill recipe, Xiaohua pondered for a moment. With a wave of his hand, the three-legged vermilion bird phoenix pattern furnace appeared in the quiet room. Xiaohua didn't use the earth fire in the quiet room. With a wave of his hand, the Samadhi true fire ignited and warmed the pill furnace. Then he took out the various spiritual herbs needed to refine the Azure Spirit pill, and placed them in front of him. Then he took out a jade slip and carefully examined it. As he examined it, He waved his hand and various spiritual herbs fell into his hand. He carefully examined them. Occasionally, Xiaohua even put the spiritual herbs in his mouth and carefully tasted their flavor. Chapter 2296. When Xiaohua finished looking at the various spiritual herbs for the azure spirit pill, the pill furnace was also warm. Xiaohua opened the pill furnace, and the various spiritual herbs were thrown into the pill furnace according to a certain order, and began to refine the medicinal liquid. And he took out the spiritual herbs from the other pill formulas. Just like the azure spirit pill, he carefully looked at them. As he looked at the pill formulas one by one, Xiaohua's brows gradually wrinkled, as if he couldn't figure out the reason. He put down the pill formulas and looked at the pill furnace again, looking at the boiling medicinal liquid in the pill furnace. Am I being too simplistic? If it's just the principle of the 5 elements and the way of yin and yang, I'm afraid 4 or 5 spiritual herbs are enough. And in these pill formulas, which one of them has so few spiritual herbs? In these pill formulas, some of the spiritual herbs clearly have nothing to do with the pill, so why do they have to be listed? This young master doesn't have the specific refining method, so I'm afraid I can't know the use of these spiritual herbs. What should I do? Xiaohua secretly scratched his head and waited for a long time. Seeing that the pill liquid was almost refined and needed to be melted, Xiaohua's brows suddenly relaxed, and he hit his forehead with his hand and said with a smile, "This young master is thinking too much. These pill formulas have been passed down for thousands of years, and in these years, they have been tempered thousands of times, and after many changes, they have become what they are today. Presumably, in the beginning, there were only a few simple spiritual herbs. Only a pill formula that can be used to refine pills is a true pill formula. No matter how good yours truly's thoughts are, there are bound to be flaws in it. These useless spirit herbs must have been added in later during the refining process, right? Just like refining, adding some materials can enhance the performance of the magic tool, but if you don't add it, it doesn't matter." After thinking it through, Xiaohua was spirited again, and he continued to look at the many pill formulas. He didn't lack spiritual herbs, but he needed time to refine pills. When the idea in his heart matured, he only needed to take the spiritual herbs and refine it. But at this time, Xiaohua thought of another thing. That was the legend of the 100 Herbs Sex Medicine Farmer Peak that Zhang Qingxiao mentioned in Yellowflower Ridge. Needless to say, since he wanted to trace the pill formulas used for refining pills, he naturally had to think of the legendary medicine farmer. Therefore, Xiaohua clapped his hands and took out the Medicine King tripod from the space. In fact, Xiaohua had not intended to take the Medicine King tripod earlier. After all, the 100 Herbs Gate now belonged to Xiao Xianrui. Everything should be left to her, or to Jiang Luer. He thought that Xiao Xianrui's cultivation had not yet recovered, and there were many matters regarding the 100 Herbs Gate that had yet to be resolved. Under Xiao Xianrui's persuasion, Xiaohua also took it. His space was the most stable place in the Donrain continent, so he could return it to Xiao Xianrui in the future. It's just an ordinary magic tool. Xiaohua's strength had long reached the Jindan stage, so he knew the details of the Medicine King tripod just by scanning it with his divine sense. He smiled secretly and said, "I'm afraid that the 100 Herbs Gate knows that it is a small sect and thinks too highly of itself, so it has no reason to make up some groundless legends. This way, no one will dare to look down on 100 Herbs Gate." As he spoke, Xiaohua was about to take back the Medicine King tripod. However, at that moment, Xiaohua suddenly stopped as if he had a telepathic connection. That's not right. If it's a compiled legend, it should have included the 100 Herbs Gate as well. But why is there only Yao Nong Peak in the legend? Second senior brother's memory is no small matter. Something that can make the head of the heavenly demon sect say is not that simple. Moreover, after the ancient times, at that time, the Taoist sect had just risen. Even an ordinary magic tool was extremely powerful. This Medicine King tripod looks ordinary. Could there be something else strange about it? Thinking of this, Xiaohua waved his hand and placed the Medicine King tripod on the ground. He slowly hit it with different spells in his hand. After a while, there was no change in the Medicine King cauldron. Then Xiaohua released the Buddha Sarira, the two Buddhist supernatural powers, and the Buddhist consciousness, but the Medicine King Cauldron still did not respond. In the end, Xiaohua released the soul strands again, just like when he had refined the wizard puppet. As soon as the soul thread came out, there was a slight reaction in the Medicine King Cauldron. It seemed that some green light was emitted from the Medicine King Cauldron, but the light was blocked by the thick shell of the Medicine King Cauldron. Oh, this is a soul tool? Or a wizard tool? Xiaohua suddenly realized. But it was taken by the cultivators of the Taoist sect. With this wizard tool as the core, they sacrificially refined it into a magic tool. Damn it, isn't this buying the casket and returning the pearl? Immediately after, Xiaohua opened his eyes and struck out a magic seal in his hand. The earth fire that he took out to refine tools was generated with a tung sound. Laozi was still thinking that this earth fire wouldn't move at all. It's hard to explain. Now it's good. I want to see who is so blind. Xiaohua threw the Medicine King tripod on the earth fire, and the 5 elements refining technique was used after a little thought. However, after half a day of hard work, the outer layer of the Medicine King tripod was taken off little by little, and the inside was the size of a fist. An incense burner like an oil lamp. After extinguishing the earth fire, Xiaohua closed his eyes again and released the soul strands. He saw that the incense burner was wrapped in layers of green brilliance. It was the same green seal text as the wizard puppet. Unfortunately, Xiaohua did not have the method of sacrificially refining this thing. He only tried to wrap the soul strands around the incense burner according to the wizard puppet's method, but none of the green seal text on the incense burner lit up. Seeing this situation, Xiaohua understood that his method was wrong. If he could not get the method of sacrificially refining, the incense burner would always be an incense burner. Forget it, Xiaohua thought as he retrieved the soul thread. However, he was unwilling to give up. With a flip of his hand, he took out the toad again. After the soul thread entered the toad's green tongue hit the incense burner with a loud dang sound. The green light on the incense burner flourished. Although all the green seal text did not light up, a mountain peak faintly appeared in the green brilliance above the incense burner. Yaonong Peak. Xiaohua had been to Yaonong Peak, so he could see it at a glance. Just as he understood what was going on, the misty green light disappeared again. Dang, dang, dang. Xiaohua mustered all of his strength and pulled out all of his soul strands, using the toad to hit the incense burner. However, even in the end, Xiaohua still could only see the outline of the medicine farmer peak. If there was anything strange inside, he still couldn't see it. Xiaohua understood that this should be because his soul cultivation realm was not enough, and the power of the soul strands was not enough. Forget it. It's fine as long as I know how to deal with this thing. Xiaohua was not dispirited. He waved his hand and put the incense burner into the space. He thought to himself, it won't be too late to look at it again when my soul cultivation realm is high. Immediately, Xiaohua calmed his heart and cultivated, refining pills. Unknowingly, dozens of days passed. The Azure Spirit pill was successfully refined as expected, and Xiaohua also finished looking at the pill recipe. According to his Qi Huang technique, as well as the Tao of Yin and Yang, he already had a certain idea in his heart. However, he was now wholeheartedly refining the Azure Spirit pill, so he did not have time to try to configure the pill recipe and refine the pill. The matter of the pill recipe was settled. Xiaohua pondered for a moment, then took out the storage pouches he obtained from Chicken Crow Mountain, and looked through the things inside. Sure enough, in addition to the sword slips he saw before, Xiaohua found 4 or 5 more sword slips. Although the sword arts in these sword slips were at most at the drawing sword realm, they were superior in the first-grade illusory sword realm. Compared to Master Bright Sword and Li Xiaobai's sword arts, they were much more detailed. Great! Xiaohua clapped his hands again. This time's trade fair was really a fruitful trip. Immediately, while refining pills, Xiaohua immersed his divine sense into the sword slips. He looked at the sword slips one by one, comprehending how sword cultivators nurtured and controlled their swords. The more he looked, the more Xiaohua was moved. The previous contempt on his face also disappeared. It turned out that Sword Cultivator's sword arts were far from as simple as Xiaohua thought. It was also not something that could be covered by the Sword Plays the World. It was undeniable that the Sword Plays the World was an extremely powerful sword-controlling technique. However, it was still a sword-controlling technique. It was different from a Sword Cultivator's sword arts. A Sword Cultivator's sword arts were a complete set of flying sword cultivation methods. Not to mention nurturing and forging the sword. Using the primordial spirit to control the sword was not something the Sword Plays the World could cover. While Xiaohua looked, he formed a sword art with his hands. Buddha fire flew out of the execution dream, transforming into two colors of green and red, flying around in the quiet room. It was like a small swallow, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes high, sometimes low. Wang. With a huge vibration, the execution dream suddenly expanded to the size of an ordinary flying sword. It stood upright in midair. That faintly discernible sword intent waved out along with the green and red brilliance. Unexpectedly also had a trace of sword-forming power. And using the primordial spirit to control the sword means using the primordial spirit as one's own body. While cultivating the flying sword, it is also tempering the primordial spirit. The more condensed the primordial spirit is, the more powerful the flying sword will be. That day in front of Rooster Crow Mountain, when the sword came from afar, thousands of swords bowed their heads. It was not because the flying sword was powerful, but because the sword intent was superb, and because the primordial spirit was arrogant. Just like my Dao Sex Foundation establishment cultivators in front of a gold core cultivator. Even if they did not release their aura, that natural aura could make a foundation establishment cultivator bow their heads. Oh, that sword intent leaking out is just like the cultivator's aura. I'm afraid only a primordial spirit this condensed can fight against millions of soul cultivators in Meng Mountain. Xiaohua suddenly realized. If it was my Dao Sex cultivators, I'm afraid it would not be easy to deal with the soul cultivator's mysterious soul techniques. Great. Now that my primordial spirit is at 10, it is time to temper it. This sword cultivation technique is tailor-made for me. The more Xiaohua looked, the happier he was. It was as if he had eaten spirit herbs, his whole body was comfortable. After a few more days, Xiaohua had a realization. And regarding the 9 stars transit, controlling many flying swords like this was not my idea at first, to split a few more primordial spirits. That was because the primordial spirit was as strong as the previous one, and it was not easy to form the 9 stars transit. The correct method should be to split the primordial spirit brand from the primordial spirit of the dream executioner, and carve it into the other 8 sword orbs. This way, there will be a master and a subordinate, and there will not be a conflict. Although the method of carving the primordial spirit is not written in this sword technique, the tone is full of praise. I vaguely feel that it is a profound secret technique of sword cultivators. Chapter 2297. Soon another 20 days passed. Counting with his fingers, it had been more than 2 months since Xiaohua entered the quiet room. On this day, Xiaohua placed a furnace of cyan spirit pills into his space. He had just placed several kinds of spirit herbs into the furnace, and was about to quench the impurities when Xiaohua's heart moved. He clapped his hand and took out the quiet room's command medallion. He pointed his hand, and a dot of light flew out from the command medallion, and hit the door's restriction. A fist-sized hole immediately appeared on the door, and a summoning talisman flew in. Alas, what will come will come. Xiaohua crushed the messaging talisman, and Cui Hongshan's voice came from it, telling him to go back. What a pity for this young master's pills. Xiaohua looked at the 3-legged vermilion bird phoenix pattern furnace with heartache. I just threw in the spiritual herbs. Cui Hongshan, if you sent a messaging talisman earlier, you would have died. Alas, if this young master could refine pills in the space, how good would that be? Xiaohua just sighed with emotion at this moment, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He slapped his forehead and said fiercely, "Damn it, I was thinking about how to control the sword to kill people. Why didn't I think of it? Since the primordial spirit can control the sword, it can naturally control the sword. Since it can control the sword, it can control the magic. Since it can control the magic, of course, it can generate samadhi true fire. If no one disturbs this young master in the space, this young master can directly use the primordial spirit to refine pills. Wouldn't that be perfect? This young master didn't think of this before, because I just started using the primordial spirit to control the sword. I haven't cultivated to the stage of using the primordial spirit to control the magic. Thinking of this, Xiaohua was in no hurry to go out. He hurriedly took out the sword slip again, and immersed his divine sense in it to quickly check. Sure enough, at the end of the sword slip of a drawing sword swordsman, there were some records of the primordial spirit controlling the sword. However, this kind of secret technique could only be used by sword transformation cultivators, and the sword slip of the drawing sword swordsman didn't record it. Haha, this young master is really a genius. Xiaohua almost jumped up. If he could temper his primordial spirit to the point that he could refine pills in the space, then wouldn't he be able to refine pills at any time? If he could refine pills, then wouldn't he be able to refine magic tools and magic treasures? Wouldn't he be able to make full use of this space? It's a pity. The realms of these sword cultivators are simply too low. They don't have any primordial spirit control secret arts. Xiaohua was somewhat regretful. This young master will first take a look at the jade slips left behind by Li Xiubai and Daoist Master Brightsword. If there aren't any, then I can only kill more sword cultivators. Good heavens, a sword transformation swordsman. This young master still has to raise his cultivation. Otherwise, how can I kill a sword transformation swordsman? Thinking of this, Xiaohua put away the pill furnace and looked left and right to make sure he didn't miss anything. He was about to leave the quiet room, but after taking a few steps, Xiaohua stopped and turned his head to look at the refining area. He waved his hand and some of the commonly used refining materials were stored in the space. Then he looked at the refining area and took some of the materials as well. Only then did he walk out of the quiet room. Following the city guard's instructions, he slightly activated the token. The token whistled and turned into a ray of light that shot toward the entrance of the pill refining cave. Xiaohua stood at the side of the courtyard, waiting for the arrival of the city guards. At this time, a milky white brilliance flashed a bit further inside. Similarly, another cultivator came out from the pill refining cave's quiet room. Xiaohua heard the voice and looked over. "Oh, it's actually him." Xiaohua was fine if he didn't look. Once he looked, his eyes unconsciously shrank. The person who came out from the pill refining cave's quiet room was none other than Li Qingxiu of Immortal Music Sect. During this period of time, Li Qingxiu was very unhappy. The disciples that he sent out to keep an eye on Imperial Thunder Sect and Ardent Fire Mountain were all empty-handed. He found several opportunities to probe Huaping, but was always evaded by Huaping without leaving a trace. He almost wanted to directly force Huaping. Fortunately, Daoist Master Lan Yu, who was far away in Immortal Music Sect, didn't send any condemnation. He didn't know if Daoist Master Lan Yu didn't know about this matter, or if Daoist Master Lan Yu wasn't in Immortal Music Sect. Li Qingxiu naturally didn't dare to inquire further. Thus, Li Qingxiu was really bored in Immortal Music Sect's encampment. The battle with the sword cultivators in front of him suddenly calmed down. He ran into the pill refining cave and repaired his magic treasure. Actually, rather than saying it was repairing, it was better to say that he needed to calm his mind and clear his head. But coincidentally, just as he had some plans in his heart, he met his enemy when he came out of the quiet room. Naturally, Li Qingxiu's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment at first. Then it was followed by enlightenment, followed by killing intent. How could Xiaohua not know? He was also stunned. Then he hesitated. Of course, he wasn't afraid of Li Qingxiu, but obviously if Li Qingxiu made a move, he would definitely kill him. However, this was a golden core cultivator, especially a golden core cultivator sent by Immortal Music Sect to the conference hall. His death would definitely attract the attention of all the cultivators in Sentry City, and even all the cultivators in the cultivation world. Then Xiaohua's own strength and his own secret would be difficult to protect. Next, he would definitely be hunted down. What should I do? Xiaohua opened his mouth slightly, and the spiritual fire had already flown to his mouth. At this critical moment, Xiao Hua's eyes turned, and with a look of sudden realization, he hurriedly bowed and said, "So it's Martial Uncle Li from Immortal Music Sect." Long before the banquet of the 3 elders of Ardent Fire Mountain in Haoming City, we haven't seen each other for several years. This junior is Xiao Hua from Imperial Thunder Sect. I wonder if senior still remembers me? Li Qingxiu sneered in his heart. Damn it, I'll let you pretend. Do you think this old man doesn't know that the one who made me lose face in the previous auction was you? You actually dare to mention Ardent Fire Mountain in front of this old man? Li Qingxiu activated his magic power, and his left hand was about to reach out. You're really courting death. Xiao Hua had already released his Buddhist sense, and when he bowed, he could see clearly. He was very puzzled. He had already pointed out the 3 elders of Ardent Fire Mountain, and warned him to think twice before acting, but he actually still wanted to court death. He made himself passive. Senior, have you sent out your token? Xiao Hua hurriedly said. This junior has already called the city guards of Sentry City. Senior, please wait here for a moment. Those city guards will come over. Oh. Li Qingxiu was stunned. He raised his hand half an inch and put it down, and his magic power also condensed. Li Qingxiu originally wanted to injure Xiao Hua while no one was paying attention. He wanted to interrogate and even search his soul to find out the whereabouts of the beast cultivator's body. He was also clear that it had been 2 months. The beast cultivator's body had already fallen, or his soul had already been extracted. It was just that he really hated Xiao Hua to the bone. After interrogation, he naturally wanted to kill him with his own hands. Since no one saw Xiao Hua, it was unknown when the city guards found him missing. If it was an extreme possibility, no one would investigate. Even if Imperial Thunder Sect wanted to investigate, Sentry City knew that he might have stayed in the alchemy cave. Of course, he could deal with Sentry City. He had never seen Xiao Hua, so what did his disappearance have to do with him? Besides, at that time he was no longer in the alchemy cave. He had hundreds of excuses. He believed that Sentry City would not make things difficult for a golden core cultivator in the discussion hall. Chapter 2298. However, Li Qingxiu hesitated again. It was better to be safe than sorry. If someone knew about this, it would be troublesome. Since Xiao Hua had already sent out the command medallion, then he naturally came out from the quiet room. The city guards couldn't see Xiao Hua, so they naturally had to inform the Imperial Thunder Sect. Previously, he had also asked clearly. Within the 100 or so quiet rooms, other than one that was occupied, no one else had entered. He couldn't defend himself because he was at the scene. Of course, maybe the Sky Patrol City wouldn't pursue Li Qingxiu, and the Imperial Thunder Sect wouldn't care too much. But what about the Blazing Fire Mountain? When he thought of the ugly faces of the 3 elders of the Blazing Fire Mountain, Li Qingxiu's heart was timid. Even though he hated Xiao Hua so much, he could only withdraw the spell and put on a smile on his face. Oh, it's Nephew Xiao. I haven't seen you for many years. If not for your face, it doesn't change much. I wouldn't have recognized you. Damn it, what are you talking about? Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, when he thought about how he had forced a Jindan stage cultivator to suddenly change from wanting to kill him to treating him like an amiable senior, Xiao Hua could only forgive Li Qingxiu due to such a huge difference in attitude. I'm panicking, Xiao Hua whispered. I've been cultivating for so long, but I'm still in the early stage of foundation establishment. I really don't know how to face old friends. It's okay. As the saying goes, as long as you work hard and grind an iron pestle into a needle, as long as you concentrate on cultivating, you'll be able to walk on the great Tao without any hindrance. Li Qingxiu's attitude slowly changed. He was extremely kind and was almost the same as when he was in Haoming City. Yes, I have the same idea. Xiao Hua smiled apologetically. That's why I came to this quiet room to refine some yellow talismans and strengthen my cultivation. Tisk, Li Qingxiu sneered in thought. You're just trying to avoid my eyes and ears. You're really high-sounding. Of course, Li Qingxiu also smiled. Nephew, you're so hardworking. Your future will be limitless. These words were fake. Even Li Qingxiu himself felt that there was some dirt on his face. It was definitely not his original face. Thank you for your auspicious words. Xiaohua smiled apologetically. Senior, you've also come to Haoming City. Are you participating in the sword battle? Hehe, it's not just this old man. Even the disciples of the Ardent Fire Mountain have come. Li Qingshu looked at Xiaohua without blinking. Xiaohua's eyes turned slightly as a puzzled expression appeared on his face. Oh, which senior of the Ardent Fire Mountain is it? This junior really didn't know. Keep pretending, keep pretending, keep pretending. Li Qingshu was extremely angry. However, he still said, you should know her. She's fellow Taoist Huaduk Flame. I really don't know him. Xiaohua shook his head slightly. Right at this moment, a figure flew over from afar. It was the city guard that Xiaohua had seen earlier. Damn it, luckily I didn't make a move. Li Qingshu thought that he was lucky. In just a few words, the city guard came over. It was obvious that he was nearby. He was confident that he could capture Xiaohua in one fell swoop, but the flying techniques of the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples were well known far and wide. Xiaohua had once killed 2 Foundation Establishment Stage Heavenly Demon Sect disciples, so he might be able to exchange a few moves with him. Just these few moves might be discovered by the city guards. Junior greet seniorly. When the city guard saw Xiaohua and Li Qingshu together, he hurriedly bowed and said, Senior also wants to come out of seclusion. Naturally, but you don't seem to be the Heavenly Patrol City's disciple on duty at my Immortal Music Sect, right? Li Qingshu nodded and said, no matter if Senior comes out of seclusion, you just need to give me your token. The city guard respectfully replied. And here you go. Li Qingshu waved his hand, and a token similar to Xiaohua's flew to the city guard. Okay, Senior, please. The city guard received it, scanned it with his divine sense, and replied respectfully. Farewell, Senior. Xiaohua said with a smile as he bowed. Li Qingshu nodded slightly. He was very unwilling in his heart as he lifted his foot and left. Xiaohua sighed in relief. Fellow Taoist, I will go down and check your pill refining cave. If there's nothing wrong, you just need to give me the spirit stones and you can leave. The city guard Xiaohua was rather respectful. Okay. Xiaohua nodded, but then he asked curiously, right just now Senior Li's pill refining cave. Why didn't you check it? Hehe, I'll let you know. The seniors in the discussion hall don't need spirit stones to use the pill refining cave. Naturally, I don't need to check it. The city guard said with a smile. This doesn't seem fair. Xiaohua sighed and said, the Golden Core seniors have more spirit stones than us. If we don't ask them for spirit stones, who should we ask? The city lord has decreed that the Golden Core seniors are working for the Tao sect of our Xiaoyu continent. Our Sky Patrol City should also express our gratitude. They are working for our Sky Patrol City by using our pill refining cave. How can our Sky Patrol City take their spirit stones? The city guard said Sky Patrol City proudly. Fine. Fine. Xiaohua sneered unhappily. The ones who are going to fight with the sword cultivators are us, not them. Your flattery of the Sky Patrol City is too straightforward. Hehe. A smile appeared on the city guard's face. He didn't say anything else and went into the quiet room to check. According to the materials and talisman paper that Xiaohua consumed, he converted the spirit stones into spirit stones and then sent Xiaohua out of the pill refining cave. Fellow Taoist, you are indeed amazing. Not only can you repair artifacts, but you can also refine yellow talismans. When they walked to the entrance of the cave, the city guard hesitated for a long time before saying, I'm Chang Shu, and I admire your cultivation. If you don't mind, can you leave me a message talisman? I can. Oh. Xiaohua understood Chang Shu's intention to befriend him. He looked him up and down and said with a smile, I have scolded you earlier. Don't tell me you want to leave something behind and complain to my teacher? How can I? Although Chang Shu was a little embarrassed, he saw Xiaohua's smile and knew that Xiaohua didn't reject him. He quickly smiled and said, I really admire you and want to befriend you. It's just that I'm just a city guard of the Sky Patrol City. I'm a bit of a social climber. Haha, it's okay, it's okay. Xiaohua waved his hand and took out his message talisman and threw it over. He said with a smile, Don't ask about a hero's origin. You are a city guard of the Sky Patrol City. Before I joined the Imperial Thunder Sect, I was just a rogue cultivator. Oh, you're a rogue cultivator? Chang Shu said with a smile. I also know a few rogue cultivators. Their character is excellent. If there's a chance in the future, I can introduce them to you. Okay, let's talk about it when there's a chance. Xiaohua didn't rule out the possibility of being a rogue cultivator. He cupped his hands and said, I'm Xiaohua of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Greetings, fellow Chang. Greetings, fellow Xiao. Chang Shu also solemnly returned the greeting and took out his message talisman. Then, the two of them exchanged a few words and Xiaohua took his leave. When Xiaohua returned to the front of the pavilion, as expected, everyone had been waiting anxiously. Cui Hongshan's face was even more unsightly. There was an unfamiliar disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect standing next to him. What did you do? Cui Hongshan said coldly. Today is the day when dozens of teams of my Imperial Thunder Sect go out together. Senior brother Zhenyan specially came to see my first team off. You've already sent out the message talisman for a long time, but there's still no reply, nor is there even a shadow of you. Seeing Cui Hongshan's angry appearance and the not-so-exaggerated expressions of Zhenhua and the others, Xiaohua knew that he must have been berated by Zhenyan. His idea of showing off in front of the Imperial Thunder Sect disciples was stifled by Zhenyan, and he even lost face once again. Xiaohua was originally unable to explain why he was late, and at this moment, he was even more disinclined to explain. He waved his hand and said, Did I delay the departure time? Not yet, but Cui Hongshan still wanted to say, but he was stopped by Xiaohua, who said, Since there's no delay, what can I do if I'm late? Can't I go to the toilet? The disciple standing at the side was originally watching, but at this moment, he couldn't help but laugh. Then he immediately adjusted his expression and coughed. Cough, cough. Captain Cui, since your first team's disciples are all here, then hurry up and set off. Although there's still some free time, there are already many disciples waiting in front of the teleportation array. Today, you all have to teleport out and avoid the eyes and ears of the sword cultivators. You have to be the first to do this. Yes, I understand. Cui Hongshan glared at Xiaohua and replied helplessly. Teleportation? Xiaohua walked to the back of the team and was slightly stunned. He whispered to Dui Ling in front of him. What's the mission of our first team this time? Where are we going? Sure. I don't know either. Dui Ling replied. Just now, Captain Cui hurriedly called us out of the quiet room, but he didn't say where we were going. We just lined up here and waited. The disciples of the other teams also came out. Even Marshal Uncle Zhenyan didn't say where we were going. Oh. Xiaohua nodded. I'm afraid even Cui Hongshan himself doesn't know where to go. Sure enough, just as Xiaohua expected, under the guidance of the Imperial Thunder Sect disciple, Xiaohua and the others left the Imperial Thunder Sect's encampment. There were already several teams of disciples waiting in front of them. Several teams were gathered together, and led by another disciple on duty to the teleportation array in Sky Patrol City. During this time, Xiaohua asked Jin Minghui again, but he was also confused. He only said that the disciple on duty held Jin Yun's token and called him and Cui Hongshan out. He didn't tell them where to go at all. Snow was still falling in Sky Patrol City, but it was much lighter than on the day of the auction. It was unknown whether it was because the snow was lighter or because today was the day of the Dao Sect's operation. But there were many more cultivators walking and flying on the streets of Sky Patrol City. Although Xiaohua and the others didn't fly slowly, it still took them half an hour to arrive at a teleportation array in the north of Sky Patrol City. In front of them was a mountain that was even larger than the location of the alchemy cave. The huge rocks were frozen into icicles that were a few feet long and emitted a silver light. The snowflakes that fell on them didn't block the brilliance and were quickly frozen in the brilliance. Xiaohua and the others obviously came a little late. In the huge square in front of the mountain, there were already many cultivators waiting. Chapter 2299. These cultivators wore different Taoist robes and stood in different areas. Some were whispering, some were transmitting their voices. Their expressions were also different. However, Xiaohua could clearly see that no matter what expression they had, the bottom layer of their eyes was a little excited and a little determined. Just wait here. The disciple on duty pointed to a corner of the square. There was already a group of Imperial Thunder Sect disciples waiting there. Yes. The team leaders all nodded and brought their respective disciples to the front. They stood casually and waited quietly. Soon, dozens of teams from various sects gathered. In the time it took to eat half a meal, the entire square was filled. Disciples on duty, come here. A loud and dignified voice rang out. Everyone looked up and saw dozens of golden core cultivators flying out of the teleportation array in midair. They were standing there, and the one in front was a hale and hearty old man. The voice had come from the old man's mouth. Li Qingxiu, who came out of the pill refining cave earlier, also stood there as if nothing had happened. In an instant, the entire square was silent. No one dared to say a word. Dozens of Foundation establishment cultivators flew into the air from various parts of the square. They bowed in front of that cultivator and said, "Greetings, Martial Uncle Yuan." This cultivator was the Kunlun Sect's Golden Core cultivator on duty today, Yuan Zhongyu. In order to prevent sword cultivators from finding out the purpose of this operation, you all will follow the usual practice. Collect the team leader tokens from each sect and throw them into this container. The mission of each team will also be sealed in the team leader tokens. The restriction will only be removed after you leave the transportation array. Even I don't know where your teams are going and what mission you have. As he spoke, Yuan Zhongyu slapped his hand. A large square cauldron flew out from his storage bag. When that square cauldron landed in the air, it immediately expanded. It was only half a zhang in size. Red and green light gushed out of the square cauldron. Yes, this junior understands. The dozens of Foundation establishment cultivators cupped their hands and flew back. With a wave of his hand, Cui Hongshan and the other team leaders hurriedly took out their team leader tokens and flew into their hands. The Utopia faction, Yuan Zhongyu took out another jade archive, immersed his divine thought in it, and read aloud. "Disciple is here." A Foundation establishment cultivator hurried forward. Yuan Zhongyu glanced at the disciple and nodded. "Put the token in." Yes. The disciple of the Utopia faction waved his hand, and dozens of tokens fell into the square cauldron. After a while, the tokens flew out again, and when they fell into the disciple's hand, they became dim again. "Go." Yuan Zhongyu waved his hand and said, "Return the tokens to each team." According to the arrangement of Sky Patrol City, all of you will leave through different teleportation formations. Yes, disciple understands. The disciple bowed, turned around, and descended into the air. The disciples of the Utopia faction, who were standing in a corner of the square, were led by the city guard of the Sky Patrol City to the mountain in front of them. Then, Yuan Zhongyu did not rush to call the second faction. He waited for the disciples of the Utopia faction to enter the mountain. After a while, he called for the disciples of the Imperial Thunder faction. After a meal, the disciples of the Imperial Thunder faction were called. When Cui Hongshan received the return team leader token and fell to the ground, several city guards of the Sky Patrol City, who were not far away, raised their hands and asked the disciples of the Imperial Thunder faction to follow them into the mountain. Xiaohua and the others entered from the leftmost side of the mountain. It was a huge cave guarded by dozens of city guards of the Sky Patrol City. There was a strong fluctuation of magic power in front of the cave, which indicated that there was a very powerful restrictive spell in the cave. Just as Xiaohua entered the cave, he did not forget to slightly release his Buddha's sense. It was very strange. Li Chengxiu did not look in this direction, as if he did not know that Xiaohua was in the first team of the Imperial Thunder faction. Oh, what is this guy planning to do? Xiaohua was a little confused. Forget it, let's deal with all changes by sticking to the status quo. If he doesn't come, it's fine. If he comes, we must kill him. The inside of the cave was very spacious, which was several times larger than the elixir production cave. The high ceiling of the cave was several feet high, and the width of the cave was also several feet. When they walked in, there were some noisy echoes. At the end of the cave, there was another huge space. A layer of green, red, and yellow light shield firmly protected the space. The city guard stopped in front of the light shield and turned to the disciples of the Imperial Thunder faction and said, "Fellow cultivators, please enter with your team leader token in your hand. All disciples of the Imperial Thunder faction should also take out their own tokens. The defense array of this teleportation device will allow you to enter with the token in your hand. All cultivators without a token will be attacked. In addition, please note that the token can only be used once. Those who enter will not be able to enter again after exiting. The order of entry must also be careful. Wait for one team to enter before the other teams can enter. Otherwise, the cultivators in the first team will not be able to enter again." There were probably 10 teams following the Sky Patrol City's city guard, which made up about 100 people. After hearing the Sky Patrol City's disciples' reminder, one of the team leaders nodded and said, "In that case, let's follow the names of the teams. Whoever is in front will enter first." "Great." Another team leader nodded. "I am the 10th team. Is there anyone with a smaller number than mine? I am the first team. I will enter first." Cui Hongshan raised the token in his hand, feeling a little proud. Compared to the team's number, who could be ahead of them? The first team? The team leader of the 10th team was obviously a little stunned. However, when he saw the number 1 on the token in Cui Hongshan's hand, he nodded and cupped his hands. "Junior brother Cui, please. I hope that after this battle, we can still see the number of the first team." The Heavenly Thunder Palace's disciples' words sounded very awkward. It could even be interpreted as a provocation or a curse toward the first team. However, Cui Hongshan did not think so. After the battle at Chicken Crow Mountain, he knew that the cultivators who participated in the battle, regardless of whether they were Qi Refinement or Foundation Establishment, were insignificant. Their life and death were only separated by a fine line. Hence, he cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Senior Brother Qian. I also want to drink and chat with you in the Sky Patrol City after this battle." "Great. It's a deal." A smile appeared on Senior Brother Qian's face as he reached out and clapped hands with Cui Hongshan. "Let's go." After that, Cui Hongshan waved his hand and stepped into the light shield without another glance. Just as the city guard said, as soon as Cui Hongshan's figure touched the light shield, a burst of brilliance surged and rushed toward Cui Hongshan like dense dark clouds. At the same time, the token in Cui Hongshan's hand emitted a faint green and red light. Like a needle, it pierced toward the brilliance of the surging clouds with incomparable sharpness. Chapter 2300. Rumble. There was a sound in everyone's ears. A crack was torn in the light barrier, and Cui Hongshan's figure passed through it. Next was Zhen Minghui. When he passed through, the crack had already healed. However, this healing was like two turbulent waves sandwiching Zhen Minghui. Zhen Minghui's face was a little pale. After all, there was a strong spiritual power in this brilliance that had a tendency to tear his body apart. However, just as the light engulfed Zhen Minghui, his token also emitted a faint green and red light. These two lights wrapped around his entire body and blocked the surging light. Taking advantage of this moment, Zhen Minghui passed through. Good boy. The means of the Sky Patrol City are really powerful. Even if it's a gold core cultivator or an early nascent soul cultivator, if they come here, I'm afraid they will suffer a great loss. Xiao Hua was the last to pass through the brilliance. He could not help but feel a little speechless. However, thinking about it, it was normal. This was the teleportation array of the Sky Patrol City. Without strict defensive measures, once it was breached by a sword cultivator, the Sky Patrol City would belong to the sword cultivator. After entering the light barrier, there were several large teleportation arrays in front of them. They were similar to the ones Xiaohua had seen before, but the scale was much larger. It could teleport more than 10 people at a time. These teleportation arrays emitted a black and white brilliance from time to time, and groups of Path Sect disciples were teleported out. Could it be that there is no fixed destination? Seeing that his team was randomly assigned to a teleportation array, Xiaohua suddenly realized, everyone is teleported to any place without any purpose, and then the team leaders go to the destination according to the instructions in the token. This way, Even if a sword cultivator wants to find the purpose of this operation, it is impossible. Could it be that this operation is extremely important? It's your turn. A Sky Patrol City disciple in the late stage of Foundation establishment pointed to the teleportation array that had just been vacated and said to Cui Hongshan and the others. Yes. Cui Hongshan did not say anything and stepped into the teleportation array. After waiting for everyone to enter, Dui Ling could not help but ask, Senior, where does this teleportation array teleport to? Little girl, you will know when you get there. The cultivator smiled faintly and raised the small flag in his hand. A black and white brilliance flashed around Xiaohua and the others, and they disappeared. Next team. The cultivator's expression didn't change as he called out again. Inside the teleportation array, Xiaohua only felt his vision turn gray. That extremely familiar feeling of fainting appeared, but it only lasted for a moment before his eyes lit up again. Xiaohua didn't dare to be careless, and his divine sense immediately swept out. Oh! A shocked voice sounded in Xiaohua's ears. At this moment, Xiaohua's divine sense also scanned that person. It was actually a cultivator in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. Greetings, Senior. Xiaohua was slightly startled. He hurriedly withdrew his divine sense, raised his eyebrows, and bowed towards the source of the voice. You are not bad. That voice had already regained its calmness and said faintly. Xiaohua smiled bitterly. He could now clearly see that this was a space with a radius of 3 meters. The space was surrounded by craggy stone walls, and there were some icicles and light green moss on the walls. An extremely cold chill instantly wrapped around him. Needless to say, this must be an extremely cold place in the northern part of the country of Xi. Moreover, since it was the other end of the teleportation array of the Sky Patrol City, it must be heavily guarded and even kept secret. If there were no Golden Core Realm cultivators guarding it, how could the Sky Patrol City be at ease? He was overthinking. Looking at Cui Hongshan and the others, the few Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators were still fine. Their figures were slightly staggering, and they looked like they couldn't stand the distance of the teleportation array. Looking again, the few Qi Refinement Realm cultivators were already paralyzed in the teleportation array. That's right, the Sky Patrol City doesn't seem to have given us special yellow talismans for teleportation. Xiaohua suddenly thought. This disciple used to be a body cultivator. Xiaohua understood the Golden Core Realm cultivator's meaning. That's right, in a distant teleportation array, without a yellow talisman to coordinate with the teleportation array, how could one resist the changes in space? Xiaohua being able to stand steadily in the teleportation array naturally surprised the cultivator. The Golden Core Realm cultivator didn't ask any more questions. He waved his hand and said to the dozens of Qi Refinement Realm cultivators beside him, quickly go and help them out. There will be another group of cultivators coming soon. Yes. The Qi Refinement Realm cultivators quickly came in and helped one person out of the teleportation array. Senior, where is this place? Xiaohua saw that Cui Hongshan and the others were still dispirited and didn't pretend anymore. He cupped his hands and asked, where is this place? You'll know when you get out. The Golden Core Realm cultivator laughed. Your captain token naturally has a map of the route from here to here. As for where this place is, this old man won't tell you. After teleporting you here, this old man will have to move this temporary teleportation point. Telling you the location is meaningless. Yes, this disciple understands. Xiaohua suddenly understood. He looked at the teleportation array again and smiled apologetically. This junior is very curious. This teleportation array, can it be moved? You're really curious. The Golden Core Realm cultivator laughed. Teleportation arrays are divided into 2 types, fixed and temporary. Fixed ones don't need to be said. As long as it's set up, it can't be moved. This is a temporary teleportation array specially set up for this operation. It's very simple and can only be used for a short period of time. It's also because of this that my Sky Patrol City didn't have time to make so many yellow teleportation talismans, causing you to suffer. At this point, the Golden Core Realm cultivator said meaningfully, little guy, This old man has been in charge of the teleportation array for a long time. You're the first cultivator who can walk out of the teleportation array normally, without using a teleportation talisman. I'll leave this group of disciples to you. Although this old man isn't a teacher of the Imperial Thunder Sect, I'll have to remind you again. As the team leader, you must bring them back in one piece. Not a single one can be missing. Yes, this disciple understands. Xiaohua didn't make it clear and replied respectfully, "Don't give up, don't abandon, don't abandon." Good. The Golden Core Realm cultivator's eyes flashed with surprise and nodded. The Imperial Thunder Sect is indeed a famous sect in the country of Xi. A foundation establishment disciple can speak such profound principles. This old man is truly impressed. Senior, this teleportation array. How did it move? And how was it set up? Xiaohua suddenly revealed his true colors. If you were a disciple of my Sky Patrol City, this old man would consider. Unfortunately, you're a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Do you think this old man will tell you? A smile appeared on the Golden Core Realm cultivator's face. We're all disciples of the Dao sect. Senior, why do you have to be so formal? Xiaohua was also thick-skinned. Ha ha ha. The Golden Core Realm cultivator flicked his sleeve and said, "If you want to know, then use your Imperial Thunder Sect's Thunder Escape technique in exchange." Fizke. Senior, you're making things difficult for this junior. Xiaohua smiled. How would this junior know about the Thunder Escape technique? Yes, aren't you making things difficult for this old man as well? The Golden Core Realm cultivator smiled and flicked his sleeve. A yellow talisman appeared in midair and said, "Your disciples have rested. Take this escape talisman and activate your magic power to leave this place." Yes, thank you, Senior. Xiaohua took the yellow talisman with a smile. Behind him, Cui Hongshan and the others had rested and were standing there listening to Xiaohua's banter. Xiaohua left an escape talisman for himself and gave the others to Zhen Minghui. When everyone stuck the yellow talismans on their bodies and activated their magic power, their figures involuntarily flew up into the air and flew toward the top of the cave that was covered in frost. After waiting for half a cup of tea's time, the figures of Xiaohua and the others appeared above a barren glacier. Everyone's faces were slightly stunned. Even Xiaohua, when he released his divine sense at this time, could not sense that they had just arrived at the teleportation array here. Soon after, Xiaohua once again unleashed his Buddhist awareness. After scanning the surrounding dozens of kilometers, he discovered that it was completely barren. Other than a few groups of Dao sect disciples, who seemed to have just left like them, there were no traces of sword cultivators. Sigh, what can such a tight defense mean? Xiaohua sighed. It could only mean that the operation here was secretive, and that he had to face many powerful sword cultivators. He was naturally confident, but what about these 9 disciples? Should we also let the 3 Qi refining disciples build their foundation? Xiaohua thinks to himself as his gaze sweeps over the 3 disciples who are still a little dizzy. But when he thinks that once these 3 disciples reach the foundation establishment stage, they will have to return to the Imperial Thunder Sect. Perhaps those 2 disciples from the Heavenly Thunder Palace will also come. Xiaohua shakes his head. Let's wait until the war is almost over before we talk about it again. Zhenhua, how's your rest? Cui Hongshan's head was also a little unwell, as if he had a hangover. Captain Cui, it's really uncomfortable. Zhenhua frowned. Patrol Sky City is too stingy. They didn't even give us a single teleportation talisman. Then, let's find a place to rest for a while. Cui Hongshan hesitated slightly and ordered. There's no need. Xiaohua waved his hand and took out the flowing cloud-flying boat. He said indifferently, "We'll take the flying boat." Aren't you afraid that the 7 skills sect disciples will find out? Cui Hongshan asked curiously. No. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "Fellow Taoist Cui and senior brother Zhen will control it. Just listen to my command." Okay. Cui Hongshan turned his head and glanced at Zhen Minghui. They all understood what the Golden Core cultivator said next to the teleportation array. If they wanted to live, it was better to listen to Xiaohua. After boarding the flying boat, Zhen Minghui casually flew slowly to the north. Cui Hongshan took out the captain's token and looked at it with his divine thought. His face showed a look of realization. He glanced at Xiaohua, who was sitting cross-legged and ignoring him, and handed the token to Zhen Minghui. Oh, I see. After Zhen Minghui looked at it, he nodded and activated his dermic power. The flying boat circled slightly and accelerated towards the northwest. Chapter 2301. Hongshan, what exactly is the mission? Dui Qiming chuckled. Her vision was much higher than Cui Hongshan's. After discussing with Ming Mao, she had long determined that Xiaohua's cultivation was at the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment, which was comparable to the early stage of golden core. With such a powerful disciple with them, they naturally did not need to panic. The most important thing was that this guy did not care about the position of team leader, and was working hard for Cui Hongshan. As Cui Hongshan's future dual cultivation partner, how could she not be happy? Hearing Dui Qiming's question, Cui Hongshan glanced at the gloomy sky and said, Quanjin Mountain. Quanjin Mountain? Where is that? Not only had Dui Qiming not heard of it, even Su Qing was slightly stunned and asked softly. Sigh, of course we have not heard of it. Cui Hongshan sighed. Quanjin Mountain Spirit Stone Vein. Ah! Everyone exclaimed. Spirit Stone Vein. What are we going there for? Could it be that the sword cultivators are besieging the Spirit Stone Vein? Are they asking us to go and help them? Zhenhua asked naively. I don't think so. Cui Hongshan frowned. The token only said that we are to go to the Quanjin Mountain Spirit Stone Vein and defend it together with the disciples of Sky Patrol City. It should not have been discovered by the sword cultivators. I see. Dui Qiming suddenly understood and said, no wonder today's operation was so secretive. They were afraid that the sword cultivators would find out. If they found out, it would be troublesome. Yes, the spirit stone veins of other sects near Sky Patrol City are naturally secretive, and may not be discovered by the sword cultivators. But our Dao sect has to set up defenses. If they find it intentionally, it will be a disaster. Not only that, if the sword cultivators obtain the spirit stone vein, their strength will increase greatly. Our Dao sect will lose many disciples. Actually, the elders in the meeting hall are overthinking. Su Qing smiled. The sword cultivators are training their disciples. If we make such a big fuss, it will be easy for them to find something to use against us. If the sword cultivators did not have the intention to seize the spirit stone vein, wouldn't it give them more ideas if they found it? How is that possible? Dui Ling retorted. Could it be that the Golden Core elders in the meeting hall are not as many as you think? Alas, I'm afraid that's really the case. Xiaohua, who had been silent all this time, opened his eyes and said, things really aren't as simple as Zhenhua thinks. Xiaohua, what do you think? When Dui Ling saw Xiaohua speak, he was very happy and hurriedly asked. Xiaohua glanced at Cui Hongshan, then looked at the people beside him and asked, do you all know about the abnormal change in the heaven and earth spiritual energy of Daybreak Continent? Cui Hongshan hesitated for a moment, but Dui Qiming nodded without hesitation. This concubine has heard Master mention this before. Yes, Zhen Minghui, who was controlling the flying boat, also nodded and replied. This matter was still a secret decades ago. That is 3 years ago, most of the Jindan stage cultivators of our Thunder Palace knew about it. I've also heard of it. However, according to Master, even though this matter is of great importance, it won't affect us much. Dui Qiming reminded. The change in the spiritual qi of heaven and earth is extremely slow. Xiaohua said indifferently. For the time being, it doesn't have much of an effect on us cultivators. But what about those spiritual herbs? They were born from the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Junior brother Xiao, you don't have to worry about this. Our Thunder Palace has already made preparations, and even the Thunder Palace has already started planting the spiritual herbs. Zhen Minghui said with a smile. What about the spiritual stone vein? Xiaohua said again. With the change in the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, the spiritual stones can't be regenerated. So wouldn't the original spiritual stones be even scarcer? Junior brothers, Have you all participated in the EG of Century City? You must have felt something, right? When everyone heard this, their expressions changed greatly. Of course, they had been to the EG, but they were different from Xiaohua. There weren't many things in their storage bags, so how could they sense it during the exchange? Now that they said it, how could they not know if it was true after thinking about it carefully? In that case, the spiritual stone vein of Spring Gold Mountain is really important. Cui Hongshan thought more. The sword cultivators will most likely attack this place. That's for sure. Xiaohua sneered. The Golden Core Masters in the conference hall are afraid that the sword cultivators will find these spiritual stone veins if we send reinforcements, but they have no choice but to send reinforcements, so they have no choice but to scatter and act so mysteriously. However, no matter how strict the operation is, there will always be a mistake. We don't know which spiritual stone vein this mistake will happen in, so we can only hope that we won't encounter it. Yes, this was also the scruples of the Golden Core cultivators in the conference hall of Century City. Xiaohua was right. We'll do our best and leave the rest to fate. Cui Hongshan saw that everyone was a little discouraged and hurriedly said, We'll do our best. There's no need to think too much. Yes, we understand. Zhenhua and the others said in unison. Xiaohua thought for a moment, clapped his hand, and took out a storage bag. He handed it to Dui Qiming and said, This is what I exchanged at the EG. See if any of the senior brothers or martial nephews have any use for it. Dui Qiming took the storage bag with some doubts. She scanned it with her divine perception, and saw that it was a qi replenishing and blood elixir commonly used by qi refinement and foundation establishment. She smiled and said, Junior brother Xiao is considerate. I thank you on behalf of them. No need to thank me. Xiaohua waved his hand. I've taken such a big advantage of you. How can I feel at ease if I don't take out something? After saying that, Xiaohua didn't speak anymore and closed his eyes to adjust his breathing. Under Dui Qiming's arrangement, the others divided the elixir in the storage bag and hid far away from where Xiaohua was resting. They looked at Xiaohua with reverence and some envy. Xiaohua was really too mysterious. The shocking cultivation of Chicken Crow Mountain and the generous amount of elixir he gave out was far from the poor disciple of Myriad Thunder Valley in their hearts. Even Dui Qiming was a little stunned. The elixir in the storage bag was definitely not something that Cui Hongshan could take out. Senior brother Minghui, you rest for a moment and let me steer the boat. Cui Hongshan's heart also felt uncomfortable for no reason. He turned his head and sat next to Zhen Minghui as he instructed in a low voice. Zhen Minghui smiled and said, I just steered the boat and was flying happily. You just wait at the side for a moment. Cui Hongshan didn't answer and placed his hand on the boat. He activated his true origin and fused his magic power into the flying boat. There was a moment of silence on the flying boat. Only the whistling of the cold wind could be heard, and the snowflakes began to drift down from the dark clouds that were as gloomy as winter's day. Suddenly, Xiaohua said in a low voice, Senior brother Zhen, let's lower the flying boat by 10 feet and fly towards the left. Chapter 2302. This Zhen Minghui was slightly taken aback. He glanced at Cui Hongshan and didn't understand. Fly west. Cui Hongshan also didn't understand. However, he knew that since Xiaohua had spoken, it was best to listen to him. However, after flying for an hour, Xiaohua said again, All right, let's go higher. Continue to fly northeast. Yes. Zhen Minghui responded and adjusted the direction again. For the next 2 days, there would be a few times every day. Xiaohua would give a few instructions and fly in different directions and at different altitudes. Zhen Minghui and Cui Hongshan were somewhat puzzled at first, but gradually, they had some understanding in their hearts. Both of their eyes flashed with astonishment, but this astonishment also brought with it even more joy. Dui Ling couldn't help but blink as he moved closer to Xiaohua and whispered, Xiaohua, you're not making fun of Captain, are you? Flying high one moment and low the next? Could it be that there are some restrictions in the sky? Looking at this female cultivator who kept calling his name, Xiaohua smiled and said, "Why don't the others ask? Are you the only one who wants to ask? Are you fighting for Zhen Minghui?" "Nope." Dui Ling blinked at him and said, "I'm in the same group as you. Why would I fight for them? It's just that I saw that they were having a hard time flying, so I wanted to ask you. We are magnanimous people. There's no need to lower ourselves to their level. Hee, if they don't want to suffer, then get a higher grade flowing cloud flying ship. We just need to put in spirit stones and activate it a little. For this kind of low-grade flying ship, we really need them to put in some effort," Xiaohua said without any trace of politeness. "And that's right. They are the captains. If they don't put in some effort, who will?" Dui Ling laughed and said, "However, let's stop before going too far. We've already taken many detours in these 2 days. Next, let's just fly directly. If we can arrive earlier, then we should." "Dui Ling." Dui Qiming berated in a low voice. "What do you know? Come back quickly." How could Dui Qiming not know about Dui Ling's favorable impression of Xiaohua? Although she knew that Xiaohua already had Shui and Huanhua sex fairy Hongxia, she still wanted Dui Ling or Ming Mao to get familiar with Xiaohua. No one said that a cultivator could only have one female cultivator on dual days. Since there were 2, what harm was there in having 3? Of course, if Cui Hongshan wanted 2, he could forget about it. Martial Uncle Dui Ling truly wanted to mediate the conflict between Xiaohua and Cui Hongshan out of goodwill. Seeing Dui Qiming berate him, he felt somewhat wronged. "I'm afraid there's some danger ahead. That's why junior martial brother Xiao changed the direction of the flying boat." Dui Qiming had no choice but to voice her conjecture as she looked toward Xiaohua. "Isn't that so, junior brother Xiao? Maybe it's possible." Xiaohua smiled but didn't say anything. He closed his eyes again. "How could that be?" Dui Ling pursed his lips and said, "Xiaohua is only at the initial stage of foundation establishment. Although he has a true blood Dharma body and his strength is comparable to the late stage of foundation establishment, his divine perception can't be more powerful than martial Uncle Zhen's, right?" Hearing Dui Ling's nagging, Zhen Minghui smiled bitterly. He had already released his divine perception when Xiaohua had first warned him. He had scanned the area in front of him more than once. Although he had looked again and again, he had never seen anything wrong. If he couldn't see anything wrong, then Cui Hongshan definitely couldn't see anything. These few days he could only let Xiaohua wander around by the nose. Another 10 days passed. Just like before, Xiaohua would let Zhen Minghui and Cui Hongshan change direction every half a day. After that, no one asked anymore. Even Dui Ling knew that flying like this was already very far from Sky Patrol City. There were already sword cultivator disciples moving around in the vicinity. They hadn't encountered any swordsmen for more than 10 days. If Xiaohua hadn't been able to see them in advance, what other explanation could there be? Everyone felt even more admiration for Xiaohua. It was noon again today. The miserable sunlight was faintly sprinkled down. The fluttering snowflakes had disappeared, and the entire sky was devoid of life. Xiaohua was cultivating when he suddenly opened his eyes. "What's wrong? Is something the matter?" Dui Ling was the most concerned about Xiaohua and immediately asked anxiously. Xiaohua squinted his eyes, but the expression in his eyes couldn't be seen. "Do we have to change direction again?" Zhen Minghui also asked anxiously. The flying boat slowed down. "No need. Go straight," Xiaohua said coldly. Zhen Minghui nodded and continued to urge the flying boat. "To the right." Xiaohua didn't sit down this time. Instead, he stood at the bow of the boat, placed his hands behind his back, and looked forward. The whistling cold wind blew through the flying boat's defense, blowing Xiaohua's hair and robe up. A fierce aura was emitted from Xiaohua's body. "Okay." Zhen Minghui agreed without hesitation. "Junior brother Su, you haven't used your fire-controlling fan for a long time, right? Do you want to exercise today?" Xiaohua suddenly spoke, but his eyes weren't looking at them. "Oh, yes." Su Qing was obviously caught off guard and hurriedly jumped up from the flying boat. "Okay, you all get ready." Xiaohua flicked his sleeves and said coldly, "This Xiao was wrong." Then Xiaohua didn't say where he was wrong and just stood there quietly. He really had the demeanor of an expert. They flew straight for nearly an hour. During this time, Xiaohua actually changed direction again and again, as if he was chasing sword cultivators. Suddenly, Zhen Minghui cried out in alarm. Dui Qiming and the others also discovered it, and couldn't help but become nervous like Zhen Minghui. It was no wonder that Dui Qiming and the others saw through their divine senses that there were about 30 swordsmen, all of whom were at the unsheathed sword realm. They were casually flying in their direction on their swords. When Zhen Minghui and Dui Qiming's divine senses swept over these sword cultivators, these swordsmen had already discovered it. The swordsmen were already flying over. Don't be afraid. Back then, Rooster Crow Mountain had 1,000 swordsmen and hundreds of unsheathed swordsmen. Didn't we also fly out safely? Xiaohua said coldly. These crooked melons and cracked dates are only here to deliver flying swords to us. Hearing Xiaohua call unsheathed swordsmen crooked melons and cracked dates, Mingmao couldn't help but laugh. She charmingly glanced at Xiaohua. Go to the left. Pretend to escape. Xiaohua instructed in a low voice. Okay. Zhen Minghui circulated his magic power, and Cui Hongshan also stood up from the flying boat. His divine senses weren't enough to see the swordsman, so he could only walk to Dui Qiming's side. Dui Qiming whispered a few words and Cui Hongshan nodded slightly. He glanced at Xiaohua and didn't say anything else. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, they could already see the 30 sword cultivators whistling over from behind the flying boat. Beneath the feet of these sword cultivators were flying swords that radiated light in all directions. They were all different colors and looked very beautiful. Xiaohua, can you leave a flying sword for this concubine? Dui Ling suddenly asked. Why? Xiaohua asked curiously. You don't cultivate flying swords? This concubine came here to fight, so I have to leave something as a memento. Dui Ling smiled and said. Otherwise I will lose face when I return. And I understand. Xiaohua turned to look at the excited sword cultivators and said, Fly down. Zhen Minghui immediately controlled the flowing cloud flying boat to rush down the snow-covered hill. Damn it! Why are the disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect so good at pretending? Seeing Zhen Minghui's realistic performance, Xiaohua was somewhat stunned. Haha! It's actually the bastards from the Imperial Thunder sect. This sword thought they were disciples of the Seven Skills sect. The one in the lead was a tall swordsman with a black beard on both sides of his face. Go. The swordsman formed a sword seal with both hands, and the fiery sword light under his feet split into two with a hoo sound. It pierced straight toward Zhen Minghui and Dui Qiming who were steering the boat. He shouted. This daddy made the first move, so this daddy wants to have a taste of that beautiful lady first. See, hearing this, Cui Hongshan's face instantly changed. It was as if the rock under his feet had been frozen solid for 10,000 years. Go! 2 lightning pearls flew out from Cui Hongshan's hands and nimbly arced through the air, attacking the 2 swordsmen. Little gigolo! You still dare to make a move. The swordsman didn't care at all. He slightly changed the direction of one of his flaming swords and stabbed towards the lightning pearl. Gotcha! The 2 lightning pearls collided with each other, and a thumb-sized bolt of lightning struck the flying sword. Crackle! The fiery light of the flying sword in the thunder light dimmed all of a sudden, revealing its fist-thick true body. Cock of the Imperial Thunder sect has long since declined. The swordsman laughed loudly and urged his sword origin. A fiery red sword light came out from the flying sword and hit the lightning pearl that had just flown to the side. With a caw sound, the lightning bead lost control and flew diagonally into the air. Hongshan! Dui Qiming was very anxious. Seeing Cui Hongshan's pale face, she hastily slapped her hand and the lightning bottle flew out from her storage bag. What's the hurry? Xiaohua coldly said. It was unknown whether he was talking to Dui Qiming or Cui Hongshan. As soon as his voice fell, Xiaohua's figure suddenly rose from the flying boat and rushed towards the swordsman at an extremely fast speed. Sword Cultivator's flying speed was originally fast, and Xiaohua was even faster. In the blink of an eye, Xiaohua flew in front of the flying sword. Haha, another one has come to court death. The swordsman once again controlled his sword, wanting to cut down Xiaohua under his sword. Unfortunately, although the flying sword was stabbing towards his head, Xiaohua's figure slightly swayed and easily dodged the flying sword in a situation where it couldn't be avoided. The swordsman was greatly surprised. Sword cultivators had always used this kind of close combat method to deal with cultivators with higher realms. This was the first time he saw a cultivator take the initiative to fight in close combat. Unfortunately, just as he let out a strange cry, Xiaohua shook his Taoist robe. The swordsman suddenly felt a fierce and almost irresistible force appear out of nowhere and tightly wrap around him. The sword origin around his body completely solidified, and he was simply unable to mobilize it. Not good. The swordsman was greatly alarmed. Just as he was about to open his mouth and spit out a small sword to break this restriction, Xiaohua waved his hand again. A golden light flashed and cut the swordsman in half from the waist. The two halves of the corpse fell from the sky. Chapter 2303. Two fiery flying swords also fell diagonally along with the corpse. Oh! The two swordsmen closest to that swordsman had just activated their flying swords when they unexpectedly saw a swordsman, who had always been a one-hit kill, being killed by an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. They couldn't help but be stunned. They glanced at each other, and each of their flying swords mercilessly stabbed at Xiaohua from three directions. A flying sword like plum blossoms tore apart the joy in the young girl's eyes. A flying sword like the scorching sun nearly ignited the youth of a hot-blooded youth. A flying sword like a cool breeze, gentle like the charm of a fairy's tongue. These three swords had already enveloped Xiaohua's entire body, and the intense sword intent seemed to want to tear apart the fierce wind. Whoosh whoosh, Xiaohua's figure suddenly moved, leaving behind an afterimage in the air. He had already left the wind of the three swords behind him. Like a boorish man who didn't understand romance, he was even more like a gust of wind brushing against willows. His Taoist robe fluttered continuously, and then three golden flashes followed. Another three corpses fell from the air. Kill. Seeing four swordsmen killed by Xiaohua as soon as they came face to face, the remaining swordsmen were furious. 20 or so swordsmen simultaneously activated their flying swords and stabbed at Xiaohua. 20 or so flying swords. How could three flying swords compare? Just the flashing sword light was enough to dazzle people's eyes. Gee! A sound rang out. Xiaohua's shoulder leaped, and the phoenix Dharma body flew out from his body. The Dharma body, which was nearly 300 meters long, immediately covered the area around Xiaohua. The clear cry of the phoenix resounded through heaven and earth, piercing into the swordsman's ears like a sharp awl. Woo! Following the cry of the phoenix Dharma body, two enormous wings spread out. Lightning as thick as a thumb flashed between the wings. In an instant, the 20 or so flying swords were knocked askew. However, there were still several flying swords that broke through the phoenix Dharma body's defense and stabbed at Xiaohua. Ka-cha-cha! The phoenix Dharma body's two claws swiftly clawed forward. Lightning as thick as a fist was born again, precisely hitting these flying swords, mercilessly knocking them out of the air. The cultivators who drew their swords used their primordial spirits to control their swords. The phoenix Dharma body repelled all the flying swords, so their primordial spirits were naturally damaged. They also deeply experienced the vast power of lightning above the phoenix Dharma body. They couldn't help but be shocked. But Xiaohua didn't give them any time to be shocked or hesitate. The phoenix celestial body flapped its wings, and the dark clouds in the sky suddenly tumbled like a tidal wave. Crack! The phoenix celestial body waved its claws again, and several thick bolts of lightning descended from the sky, striking several sword cultivators at lightning speed. Without a doubt, those sword cultivators were instantly struck down from the clouds. At the same time, Xiaohua wasn't slow either. His figure flew up again, and everywhere he went, he used the heaven and earth sleeve technique, and the soaring dragon scissors followed. He was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, slaughtering the swordsmen one after another. Not only were the sword cultivators stunned, even Cui Hongshan and the others on the flowing cloud flying ship were stunned. Last time on Chicken Crow Mountain, when Xiaohua showed his invincible might, They were pretty much scared out of their wits. They only thought of running away, so they really didn't observe carefully. Now that they saw Xiaohua actually encounter sword cultivators, he didn't say anything and went all out to kill them. Moreover, his methods were truly swift and fierce. The sword cultivators who drew their swords were simply no match for him. How could they not be shocked? It was still the same sentence. This is a foundation establishment cultivator? Go, those sword cultivators haven't died yet. Zhen Minghui came to his senses quickly and pointed at the sword cultivators who were struck down by the Phoenix Dharma body's lightning drawing technique. Yes, Dui Qiming, Cui Hongshan, and the others responded and flew out, heading toward the sword cultivators who were already beaten up by Xiaohua. Run! Seeing that only a dozen sword cultivators were killed in a short moment, how could the remaining sword cultivators dare to hesitate? They flew in all directions at the same time. Want to leave? Leave your lives here. Xiaohua said coldly. Just now when you were feeling good, you didn't think about now. Zhen Minghui, capture those sword cultivators. As he spoke, Xiaohua urged the Phoenix Dharma body to send down a few more lightning bolts. He himself flew up again, and rushed toward a sword cultivator at an extremely fast speed. The soaring dragon shears slashed at the second sword cultivator. Even so, there were still 5 sword cultivators who escaped from everyone's siege. Xiaohua grabbed the sword cultivator's neck with one hand, and looked at the sword cultivator, who had already escaped several tens of feet away. He frowned slightly. It wasn't difficult for him to kill these 5 sword cultivators. He really had a lot of methods, but he wasn't willing to reveal them. You'd better try this. Xiaohua snorted coldly. He exerted strength in his hand and crushed the sword cultivator's throat. Then he patted his hand and took out the soul-absorbing bell and the toad. The soul thread on his forehead also stretched out. Ding dang dang, an extremely ear-piercing sound rang out. The 4 swordsmen abruptly stopped in midair, and then fell down like boulders. As for the swordsman who flew the furthest, his body swayed slightly, and the sword light around him flashed. Then he flew again. Xiaohua was slightly surprised. His figure flew and directly chased after him. Those sword cultivators who were struck by Xiaohua's lightning bolts into the air, although they didn't die, their primordial spirits were greatly damaged. They were good targets for Zhenhua and the others to practice on. When Xiaohua killed the last sword cultivator who escaped and returned, Dui Ling and the others had also killed most of the remaining sword cultivators. Xiaohua landed on the hill. He reached out and grabbed a sword cultivator who was struck down by the soul-absorbing bell. His soul thread then entered the sword cultivator's glabella. Inside the sword cultivator's mind, there was also a mysterious dark cloud. However, that dark cloud was clearly a lot more solid. Its outer layer seemed to be wrapped by something sticky. At this moment, the dark clouds had already been torn apart like cotton, and they were torn apart. It didn't take shape. And sword cultivators are indeed powerful. Otherwise, how would I deal with soul cultivators? Xiaohua nodded inwardly. He flung his hand, and the sword cultivator's corpse fell to the ground. He stretched out his hand and looked at the thing in his hand, that looked like a withered leaf. He thought, just now that sword cultivator didn't fear my soul-absorbing bell. I'm afraid it was the effect of this thing. Although this thing can create a barrier around the soul, it's indeed very powerful. Could it also be a soul tool? This thing was naturally discovered by Xiaohua from the sword cultivator's mind that escaped just now. Damn it, this sword cultivator has this thing. Maybe other sword cultivators also have this thing. Xiaohua was immediately somewhat depressed. He didn't think of this matter. Previously, there were many cultivators' souls that he didn't check. Kachacha, a few thunderous sounds were heard. It was from Dui Qiming's thunder bottle that flew out and struck a sword cultivator flying. That sword cultivator was originally a second-grade drawing sword cultivator, whose cultivation was higher than Dui Qiming's. However, after being struck by the Phoenix Dharma body's lightning, his sword essence was damaged. He didn't have time to take any medicinal pills. Even the lightning in his body was still entangled with the sword essence, preventing the sword essence from circulating and healing. How could he resist Dui Qiming's thunder bottle? Barely managing to control her sword to balance her body, Su Qing waved her fire-controlling fan. The surrounding spiritual chi of heaven and earth was sucked into the fan. A tongue of fire descended from the sky and trapped her. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.